And we're live. Good evening, all.
Evening, folks.
How's it going? This is Total Movie Recall episode number 6. Today's venture will be Oppenheimer spoiler review. And a little bit after that, we're going to get into a Nolan tier list. I know it says ranking on the video, but we're going to do a tier list because we want some visual stimulation. But thanks for coming along. I've got a special guest with me tonight, Andy, ElectricGeek. How the hell are you, mate?
I'm good, man. I'm looking forward to getting stuck into a bit of Nolan and pulling Oppenheimer apart, mate. We haven't had a chance to speak about it off camera, so it's going to be raw into it. It's going to be our initial accounts of the movie experience that was Oppenheimer. So yeah, looking forward to it. And I'm obviously streaming on my channel, so if there's anyone that's jumping on from my channel, welcome across.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, everyone from Andy's channel, if you are watching. But yeah, man, with Paul straight in with a comments. Paul was supposed to be here tonight, but couldn't make it. The live event will begin. Timer is counting down to an atomic bomb of awesomeness. So who jumped out of their skin during that scene? Oh, Paul, we'll get to that. We'll get to that, mate.
Yeah.
We've got Jim in the comments already. How's it going, man?
It's happening retro.
And we've got Scottish Geek Guy. How's it going, man?
Jimmy, good to see you, mate, on the chat.
So, yeah, Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan, brand new movie. Very excited for this one. Before we get into sort of our initial thoughts of the movie, Andy, I know we had two pretty good separate cinema experiences. Obviously, cinema is just like over the weekend. If it was back last year with Top Gun Maverick, it is cemented as being back after that weekend. I don't know, like just being a movie fan in general, it was just like a pleasure that weekend to be a part of it. But yeah, man. I'll go first with my cinema experience, Andy, because I think yours ties better into the movie we're talking about. Obviously, there's been a bit of a craze at the moment with the Barbenheimer, so it was only natural this Sunday that I went to both films back to back. Major whiplash, not gonna lie. Don't recommend it. It's not for the faint-hearted. It was 5 hours in the cinema. It was good though. It was an experience, I have to admit. So me and the missus, we went to see Oppenheimer first, but then after that we went straight into Barbie for the double feature. Not going to get into Barbie today, folks. I know that's going to disappoint a lot of you out there, but FYI, I fucking loved it. It was great. But yeah, man.
What people make of that in the comments.
Oh yeah. I've lost all 50 subscribers.
All the lights have gone out.
Yeah, it's gone. There was a couple of people watching now. Now it's 0. Guys, don't diss Barbie until you've seen it, man. It was pretty good. And the missus enjoyed it. That's the main thing. But yeah, man. Just we went to the cinema on Sunday, obviously, and like I had our tickets booked beforehand. I had them booked like 3 or 4 days beforehand. But mate, I've not seen the cinema like that, as in like how many people were there since maybe like Avengers, like sort of Endgame. I would say it was one of them. It was one of them situations as well. You go in and like you're like, right, we've got our tickets, but we've got no popcorn, we've got no drinks. So it was like me and Georgia were both looking at each other, and it's like a Mexican standoff. Like, who's going to go in that queue and wait there, and who's going to go straight into the screening? But
there'd be no Mexican standoff. I can assure you, my missus, it'd be me that'd be doing that. I wouldn't have a choice.
Well, I took one for the team. I waited in line. I waited in the queue. And, it was like I had half an hour to kill. So I was like, right, this is going to go down in half an hour. I'm all good. The queue never went down. I jumped ship. I jumped on another queue. That went down quick. Thankfully, I got my popcorn, got my drink, and I got in there just as the Universal logo was coming on. So like it was pitch black when I got into the screening, and like I didn't realize that like I'd never been into this certain screening before. I didn't realize where I was sat was basically on the far left side. I didn't realize there was some stairs on the far left side. So me and my so I'm with my drink.
That
Yeah,
terrible
like
mistake.
pitch black, and I'm like, the screening is full. There's not a single seat in the house. I've made this entire line stand up, and they're all giving me these like extra dirty looks. And I was like, come on, guys, you've never been to cinema before. You've had to do this before. And they're all giving me these dirty looks. And yeah, by the time like I could get my surroundings and see the bloody staircase to the left-hand side. Not my finest moment. Not my finest moment, I have to say. But yeah. Just as like a cinema going experience, this was just like a joy to be a part of this weekend. Like just seeing how like crowded the cinema was. And you know, it's came out and report about the box office with both of these films. Like this is the highest domestic box office in America since Avengers Endgame. That's awesome. Not a single cape or cowl was on that screen that day. Yeah, we've got a known IP in Barbie, but you know, like we've never had a live action film of that before. So I don't know, man. It was just all in all a great cinema experience. However, a lot of you are asking, like, come on, Ellis, what the hell are you talking about here? Did you see it in IMAX or not? No, I did not. I did not, unfortunately. I saw it on a smaller screen. I will say there wasn't that many showings for Oppenheimer over the weekend. You know, there was like maybe 5 showings throughout the day, and kid you not, like 25 showings for Barbie. It was a bit strange. I don't know. Maybe it was a runtime. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
But
I think one time it had something to do with it. What's the rating for Barbie?
12A, I think.
That's got a lot to do with it as well. So they can obviously put them on earlier, and they're probably gauging, well, you know, more people can see Barbie potentially because of the 12A certificate, whereas Oppenheimer, you know, it's gonna be 15 and above in it, so it could be that as well.
Yeah, man. But Scotch Geek guys just saying here, yeah, Oppenheimer was the first time I've seen a packed screened this year. Yeah, man. And you know what? Like for a long time, this is like I think this is the most I've ever been to the cinema in like 1 year. I think I'm like actively trying to go to more cinema screenings and stuff. But yeah, it was a joy. It was an absolute joy. Scotch Geek guys here saying
Eyes on
Barbie
the ball.
12A, Oppenheimer 15. Yeah, man. But
Here's one for the watchers. What was the first ever 12A certificate movie in the UK? There you go. Answer that one.
I don't actually know that.
I expect Scottish Geek Guy to get that, but we'll see. Anyway, I just talking about what his comment there and what you were saying, Ellis, with the packed screens. I think it's absolutely like you're right. It was so refreshing, and it just adds so much to it. So I went to see it in IMAX. And completely inconvenienced myself and went to see it in IMAX 70mm. Now, for anyone that's not met me yet, you can probably tell from my accent that I'm from Scotland. So that meant driving all the way down to Manchester, which was one of 3 UK venues that could show Oppenheimer in IMAX 70mm. And I will say this, right? See, before I went, I did kind of think, God, am I going to drive all the way down here? 4-hour drive, by the way. Dragging the wife as well, and I'm going to watch it and not really be that impressed and think this just kind of looks like IMAX laser, you know, or that's what I've got closest to me. The Silverburn Cineworld in Glasgow, near Glasgow. So I was worried about that, and I thought I'm going to feel pretty stupid if this, or worse, it looks even worse. How stupid will I feel if it doesn't even look as good as up the road? But we got there, and yeah, just the whole day of it, the anticipation of going down there, talking about it in the car with the wife, and then when we got in, the Printworks is quite a big venue. Got in, first time being in there, got in, and like you say, packed. I knew beforehand from going in that the entire screen was sold out. There's not a single seat because was available, and I think that was for every showing that day. Maybe not the 8 o'clock in the morning and the midnight one, but the kind of more kind of socially friendly time, shall we say? They were completely sold out. And it's great just see being in a cinema and just turning around and just seeing that literal sense of community, knowing that you're all there for that common purpose. Everyone that's came to this IMAX 70mm probably hasn't fallen in here by accident. They probably know opening weekend, the significance of seeing it in IMAX 70mm, and it absolutely did not disappoint. Like, the only criticism I would say is just because I was late to the party getting the seats was I was slightly off axis. So
Right.
I was a good distance from the screen, but I was a wee bit off axis, which meant that I didn't get the full, which made the screen look narrower, left to right. But I still could take in the height. And I think that the Printworks is the third largest screen in the UK, but the article I read that on didn't take into consideration the most recent Glasgow one. That's Cinemax, the Cineworld IMAX Laser. So I don't know where that ranks, but I think it's the third largest screen in the UK. Is the Printworks, or the second largest? It's in the top 3 anyway. And it's so much bigger than my local. Like, it's absolutely huge. If you're sitting down the front, there's absolutely no way you're not getting a neck injury. And it was a sellout. There was people down there, and like the clarity, and it's so true. See what Christopher Nolan said about it's the closest you'll get to 3D without 3D.
Yeah.
I don't know. Am I still here, mate? Because
you're still here, mate. You're still here.
The closest you'll get to 3D without 3D glasses. It's true. It's so tangible. I can't really explain the quality of it with 70mm. It's just the depth, the detail.
Whoop, you just dropped out there.
Sequences come on, and the aspect ratio changes to the 1:4:3 to 1. The scale was unbelievable, and the first 15 minutes, to be honest, mate, I couldn't take the film in. I was just like
in awe
at the technical spectacle that I was watching, and I had to almost like slap myself and be like, right, okay, watch the film.
Concentrate,
Not looking at how good the picture quality is and the sound and the sheer size of the screen, and just start taking it in. But it didn't take long because it's such a good film, as you know, mate. It's so well paced. It's so tense. Everything about it's just 5-star. That it didn't take long. The minute I kind of just gave myself that jar, boom, I was in there. I was completely sucked in to the storytelling.
Well, before we probably get into it, I'll just answer some of these comments we've got coming in. Paul Tams, what I loved about my screening of Oppenheimer, I could tell I was surrounded by fans of cinema. 100%, Paul. Absolutely.
Totally agree.
Yeah. I've got Scotch Geek guy, Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's right. Spider-Man 2002. The 12A certificate was created for Spider-Man because, for whatever reason, they couldn't cut it down enough without compromising the movie to make it a PG. So they were concerned that they weren't going to make enough money out of it. So that's kind of how the 12A certificate came about.
I did not know that. You're a madman legend for making that journey. Yeah, you absolutely are, Andy.
I don't know about a legend, mate, but I'm definitely a madman. I would do it again, though. I'll tell you.
Was it worth it? Yeah. And mate.
Oh, aye.
To be fair, I was going to say, like, to be fair, like, I imagine it was absolutely amazing on that in that format. But like, imagine like one of his, like, I don't know, like space epics or whatever, like what that's going to look like on one of them screens. I bet is whoa, because this is this is a lot of close-ups of Cillian Murphy. But I don't mind. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
I would definitely go back. Down to England to see an IMAX 70mm presentation. But I think the BFI in London is even bigger. So I think the natural progression for me would be to go to that. I'd like to visit that venue anyway, but I don't think I'd do it as like the way I did it, just first thing in the morning, get down there, have no time, come back. I think I would, if I was going down to the BFI, I would plan it as a weekend, and it would be part of my weekend rather than it being a smash and grab.
You know when you should do that, right? You should do it when Nolan directs his Bond film.
It's going to happen. It's
going to happen.
I can feel it in my waters, man. It's going to happen.
I can feel it in the air. Like, there's just certain interviews he's done at the moment, and he's not dismissing it, man. But right, let's just get into this film a little bit. guys, I normally do like a sort of like a breakdown of the full film. We're not going to do that today. We're just going to give our sort of overall, overview of the film, basically. What we liked, what we didn't like. If you didn't like anything, I haven't got many problems with it. I mean, I've slowly convinced myself of one of the problems I've had, but we'll get into that. Initially, I loved this film. I absolutely loved it. It was just like, like Andy, I was saying to you the other night, it was like, like the Harry Styles, a proper movie. It just made it
a
movie. Like it, Christopher Nolan, he's just like elite director, and like this film just drips with Nolan. Like he's got an aesthetic that he's applied to like pretty much all of his films. I think since like maybe like Insomnia or maybe like Memento, they weren't as stylized as his like later films, but I don't know whether that's just like an age thing. But yeah, I loved this. I loved all the performances. The sound design in this film, like I know you've heard everyone say it, but like the bomb. So the big bomb. There's been so much like hoo-ha about like the bomb and how he didn't use any CGI for it and stuff like that. My main thing with that scene is the sound design. I think that's the most sort of integral part of that scene. I know I'm jumping straight over all the great performances here, but I just want to get straight into the bomb. I want to get straight into the nitty gritty. Okay, so that scene for me was absolutely like breathtaking. And when it just goes quiet, but you can hear everyone sort of just like saliva and like
it feels like forever as well. It feels like an absolute age waiting on it.
Yeah, because you're in like such delirium in that space, especially like us lot who've been like keyed into this stuff beforehand, and like like we've been obviously anticipating this one particular scene. Yeah, we've been looking forward to the whole film, but obviously you're just there, you're a bit like, when's this bomb gonna go off? And when it does, I feel like I was taken back by the fact that there was no sound. I forgot science, basically. Like light travels like slower than or faster than sound and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, I don't know whether that was amazing or whether that was shit or that was wow. Then it just takes your head off, it gets your bollocks, rips them out, and no prisoners in that sound design scene. However, I don't know if was the explosion like that gnarly on a visual standpoint?
I can't even remember it, but that's a compliment in that, like, because I think I was just so it had gone beyond the scene for me. Does that make sense? Like what was happening had come off the screen and gripped me, and it was physically playing with me. If you know what I mean, it was like, because I remember that bit happens, the bomb goes off, you get the flash, and like you say, scientifically that is what happens. There's a delay between the light and the sound, but it's obviously overpronounced, for artistic effect in the movie. And it goes on, and to the point where I was almost like, is something going wrong? I've heard loads of things going wrong with these 70mm projections. Is the sound going? I'm like, no, I didn't quite go that far. I wasn't, but I did start thinking, this is an unusual amount of time to not have this explosion kick in. And then I started to get anxious because then I remembered like where I am. I'm in the IMAX, and it's Nolan, and he doesn't give a shit about dialogue, so he's going to go mental like with the delivery of this explosion.
Yeah.
And I kept I was almost like prepping myself for it, going, it's coming. Nah. And then it's like when it happened, I still got a fright. Even though I was trying to gauge when it would happen, I still got a fright. And there was a few scenes, I can't remember when they were now, but it wasn't just that scene when I shit myself, though. There was a couple other ones that caught me off guard, the sound design. But yeah, it was almost like a horror soundtrack in places. Because I suppose it is a bit of a Robert Downey Jr. I heard in a press conference describe it as a horror film, because it is a kind of humanitarian horror film, if you know what I mean. By the end of it, I'm jumping the gun now massively to how I felt at the end of it. But
Oh, mate, it's fine. We're all over the place here, guys. There's no structure tonight. It's
by the end of it,
change up.
you are kind of like left a bit spiritually hollow, if that makes sense. Like, or kind of like, I don't know, or is it emotionally drained? Is maybe a better term. You're just kind of like left contemplating and all like, and I think about the greater kind of like goal of the movie and the themes of the film that affect the whole world. And I think that's a good thing about being in a packed cinema
Yeah.
because that hammers it home. See if that film ended the way it ends, and it's it's about the threat to humanity, and all the rest of it, and you turn around, there's nobody there. It's a different experience to when you turn around and everyone in the room is thinking that also. There's that very relevant and appropriate sense of shared thought, which is what this film's trying to kind of hit home and deliver.
You can literally feel like the tension in the air, like with
Yeah, you
this
can.
film,
Yeah,
100%. Just like if you go and see a comedy and everyone laughs, this is like, yeah, no one's making any noise, but that's probably the point. And you know what? No one went to the bloody toilet in my screening either. No one went to the toilet. It's a 3-hour
that's
film.
right.
So
I
like,
don't remember that either in mine.
like, and to me that just says like, oh, this is you know, this film's working, basically. Yeah, I no toilet breaks for me. No toilet breaks. I didn't Barbie though. Didn't Barbie. But yeah, mate, awesome. I just wanted to get into the cast a little bit because obviously I actually think the star of the show here, yes, Nolan, but it's mainly like the performances and mainly Cillian Murphy. I just thought he absolutely owned this film and owned this role. Andy, what did you think about Cillian? I'm just gonna let my dog out and send him
Yeah, no
upstairs because
worries.
he's making some noises in the
I'll take
background.
the I'll take the lead.
He ruins every one of my streams, man.
If it's
Taco,
not
what's
your
up, dude?
dogs, it's my kids, mate. Don't worry about it.
Sorry, I'm 2 seconds.
Uh,
Go for it, Andy.
both just as difficult to control. Yeah, Cillian Murphy, he carries this whole movie on his shoulders, obviously, and I just thought he was fantastic. I've followed him for a while, like I've watched Peaky Blinders. 28 Days Later, he's popped up in the Nolan films, obviously from time to time, in supporting roles. But I think we all knew he was a good actor. He's a very good actor, but he just needed something like this to really showcase what he's capable of for a director like Nolan. Not even so much Nolan, but his loyalty to Nolan really came through here when he's stuck him in the center of this masterpiece. And that's all he needed. He just needed to take the stage, take the stage on the silver screen. He's already stole it on my TV screens in
Yeah,
the Peaky Blinders. But he just nails it. Everything about it. There's something about him. There's an elegance to Cillian Murphy. It helps that he strikes such a realistic resemblance to the real life character, and he obviously went quite a distance to make that happen, losing a lot of weight and stuff, so that he looked thin,
yeah. He
like
did a bit of
Oppenheimer did.
a Christian Bale, Joaquin
Yeah, he
Phoenix
did.
sort
Yeah,
of.
and it worked. He didn't. He really, if you see pictures of Oppenheimer in real life, he did get down to that place physically where he really started to resemble him. But there's just something about Cillian Murphy. There's a kind of there's a kind of such a quiet confidence in him. He's got a really understated charisma. He's not a like overly energetic guy on screen, but he's got an intelligence to him, I think, which suits obviously playing someone who was a genius effectively. But he's just so well suited to it. It's the subtleties in his performance. He was just excellent. You kind of forget you're watching him. I think that's
Yeah,
always a test for these things, especially biopics. If you just believe you're watching, well, this is the guy Oppenheimer, and you're not thinking, God, he's doing a great job, Cillian Murphy. I think that's the water test for me when the actor melts away and all you're left with is the character on the screen.
yeah.
And he's not the only one who did that in this movie
No,
because it's an
absolutely.
ensemble cast of probably the greatest actors of our generation.
I would say there's two performances in this that are just absolutely outstanding. One of them being Cillian Murphy. Like I will go as far to say this is Cillian Murphy's best performance he's ever given. And I haven't
Oh,
seen
hands down, hands down.
I haven't seen I want to see. I want to say I've seen most of, if not all, of Cillian Murphy's catalog when it comes to movies. I've only seen the first 2 seasons of Peaky Blinders. I'm not a major Peaky Blinders fan.
I think if you've seen the first 2 seasons, like you've got the gist of it, though. Do you know? I don't think he goes on to outdo himself in the later seasons or anything like that. So I think you've got
No, like I
knowledge of.
enjoy. Yeah, 100%. Like I enjoyed them 2 seasons. I never felt the urge to go past it. But yeah, Cillian Murphy was awesome in this. Like, like every time the horror. So basically, they could have went down a route in this film where they showed the effects of the atomic bomb.
Yeah,
Now, this sort of played a little bit of a hand in my rating for the film. Like, I give it a 9 out of 10, 4.5 stars out of 5. And my argument I had for that little half a mark thing was because this is an R-rated Nolan film, I obviously it'd be really horrific to see the aftermath of the bomb, but I just think some sort of imagery wouldn't have went amiss. However, since seeing it, I think all of that imagery and horror and how you would feel watching the aftermath of something like that comes across in Cillian Murphy's face. Like it really does. Like it shines through his eyes, like the guilt, the regret,
yeah,
the what have I done, but I need to do this sort of thing. Like there's so much complexities going on behind the eyes, and it's all there to be seen. And
yeah,
I think that's why there's so many like close-ups of his face, if I'm being honest, like especially after they test the bomb and he has like a conference sort of thing to say like it's worked and that, but then like the imagery behind him starts shaking, which it did do a couple of times in the movie, which I really appreciated. It also happened in like that tiny little hearing that he was having with Jason Clarke in that
yeah,
little it's throughout the film. It's obviously after the thing, and it's like, we're going to take his clearance off him, basically,
yeah.
security clearance. But yeah, Cillian Murphy smashes it in this film. He is probably the best part of this film. But another person who absolutely blew me away, and I don't know about you, Andy, was Robert Downey, man.
Yeah,
I just think, like, we forget. Well, Tony Stark and Robert Downey Jr., they sort of aren't that far apart in my eyes. Like,
yeah,
bloody hell, they're both billionaires. Do you know what I mean? Like, but like charisma and like how they come across sometimes, like they even wear the same glasses and go to the same store for the platform shoes and all that. But yeah, man, Robert Downey Jr. sort of just like disappeared in this role, and you forget how good of an actor Robert Downey Jr. is. Like if you've seen like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and like a lot of his like earlier films and stuff like that, he's awesome in them films. But yeah, what did you think about Robert Downey Jr. in this film? He plays Louis Strauss, I think it is, who hires Oppenheimer, I think after World War II, to not work on the bomb, but basically, is he responsible for hiring Oppenheimer?
This is when it gets confusing when you've only seen it once, isn't it? Like remembering the finer points. My understanding is that he was the chair of the committee,
Yeah,
the nuclear energy committee. Is that right?
I think
Uh,
I think you're 100% on that. Yeah,
yeah. So I think like, aye, he was kind of his superior and a kind of super. Yeah, I would say. I think he was some form of scientist or engineer in his own right, but obviously transitioned into kind of more into the politics side.
politics. Yeah,
Yeah, but no, I thought. See, the thing is here, mate. I feel like we could just go over every actor and just say they were amazing, they were amazing, they were amazing. Which, do you know what I mean? And that's the hard thing about talking about a Nolan film, because often there's very, very little to pick apart. But I did think that Downey Jr. made an excellent intellectual villain, the intellectual villain of the story, the human villain of the story. Anyway, I suppose you could argue it's humanity's flaws and that are the real villain here, and like the bomb itself. But I thought Downey Jr. was excellent. I actually thought you were maybe going to say Emily Blunt I was expecting you to say Emily Blunt, but I thought the range of Emily Blunt's performance was fantastic. She There was one scene that made me quite emotional, and it was Emily Blunt's scene when during the hearing towards the end, when she's just had to kind of go through the humiliation of hearing her husband say out loud that he'd been having an affair all that time, he was in love with another woman.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, she has a bit of a reaction, even though it wasn't new. It wasn't new to her, but it's different hearing it in that kind of environment. And then the way the film timeline works, we don't see we don't see her retort to that until about half an hour later. But it's supposed to obviously happen straight after that. She then goes in and has to defend her husband and speak to his character just after she's been reminded of how much of an arsehole of a husband he is. Really.
Yeah.
So, but she goes in and she still does her bit, and you can see she's emotional, and you can see that in her performance that she's kind of trembling. She's close to losing it emotionally, but she still pulls it out of the bag and outsmarts Jason Clarke, and wins over one of the panel members during the question by being able to outsmart Jason Clarke and give as good as she got. And just that, the complexities of their relationship, and that kind of selflessness towards her partner, when you could argue he didn't really deserve it, given
No.
what she just put him what he just put her through.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really great scene, and the reason it was emotional is because of how effectively and how realistically she delivered it, with the subtleties. That you could see the full strength, the strength that she had to show, but underneath she was upset, and I just thought that scene was fantastic. But yeah, Emily Blunt I thought was great. Downey Jr. great as well. Like you say, we're so used to seeing him as Iron Man that you get in this film, you get a slap in the face, and you're reminded just how talented an actor he actually is. And I thought, as much as it's a little bit probably in the comfort zone of Matt Damon, I still thought he was really convincing as the General Groves, is it?
I really like their relationship.
They're the four key players, I think, in the film. They're the like everyone has a role to play, and it's an ensemble cast, and they're all there to support Cillian Murphy. But I would say after Cillian Murphy, they're the big players like Matt Damon, Emily Blunt, and Robert Downey Jr. But the whole cast is superb, and there was people just kept popping up that I didn't even know were in it, like Gary Oldman appearing.
Oh my God, Gary Oldman!
He was in it.
What the hell? Mate, I had no idea. And I think it might have got spoiled, but I blanked it out. But I had no idea he was going to be playing the president, and that scene was awesome. That was so good. That says so much about the situation, like America at the time, like fucking scumbags, mate. To be honest, like you can see like Oppenheimer, like like through his performance and the struggle on his face. Like I don't get it, but I get it. Do you know what I mean? Like Jesus, that scene with Gary Oldman was wow. But I just want to get into Paul's comment here. Guys, I'm going to get through the comments in 2 seconds, but Paul brings up something here that I totally agree with about Emily Blunt's character. Blunt was class. When that guy went to shake her hand, Benny Safdie, and she blanked him, I was like, yes, Blunt. So was I. And my missus was like,
at that point.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, man. But yeah, Emily Blunt was awesome. I think, Nolan's, like, I've heard this criticism about Nolan before, that some of his female characters aren't as well written as maybe some of the male counterparts. I don't think Florence Pugh gets loads to do in this film.
It's a bit part, but she gives it her all, quite literally.
100%. Yeah. But yeah, she was great. But like, yeah, this is like the cast, man. Like, just people that you haven't seen in a while. Like, who I really liked seeing was Josh Hartnett. Like, I really like Josh Hartnett. He was, I'm sure he was considered for Batman at one point, like really, really early on. Like, he's awesome. I can't remember who he plays. He plays one of the scientists that they bring on quite early on. He's working at the school with Oppenheimer near the start of the film.
Yeah.
Guy with
Is it
glasses.
Berkeley? Is it Berkeley they're at?
Possibly. I've got the cast on here just to
Yeah,
make
he's like
sure that
he's a colleague, he's a fellow, like,
yeah,
lecturer or something, isn't he?
but like I haven't seen him in a while. Like he hasn't been doing much work
Yeah.
as of late, but he's done a couple of things. I think he was in the last Guy Ritchie film, not the last Guy Ritchie film, not The Covenant, but the one prior to that with Jason Statham. But yeah, man. Any other cast members that were worth talking about? Do you reckon?
None that
We've
are
obviously got one of the Safdie brothers that was like
yeah,
he was pretty much a main player of it. I really liked his performance, and you know, like you could tell he had like a lot of respect for Oppenheimer, but a lot of these people ended up going against Oppenheimer and fucking him over in the end, didn't they? Really, like
yeah,
after the bomb was built. And you know, I like the film is very much like to me split in two halves of like what the film's about. Like you got one half which is like all the creation of the atomic bomb, and then you've got the other half which is all about the turn against Oppenheimer after he made the atomic bomb. And obviously, a lot of the political leaders and stuff like that were a bit dubious about Oppenheimer as an individual because of his political beliefs or maybe his past political beliefs. I think, you know, because his brother was a communist, like at the time. Florence Pugh was a communist at the time. So, you know, Oppenheimer wasn't, but like they thought his allegiance were in the wrong place, basically. But solid cast for a Nolan film. Probably is the best, if not one of the best Nolan casts.
yeah, on paper anyway.
Um,
It's
yeah, man.
I watched I think it might have been the same interview I was watching that I kind of quoted from earlier. But in fact, no, it was Matt Damon. Matt Damon during one of the press junkets said that Christopher Nolan very early on approached everyone else other than Cillian Murphy and said, "Look, this is his movie. This is about Oppenheimer. It's a first-hand telling from that character's perspective of his journey, and basically, I need you guys to get behind them, like, and enrich the story by doing your bit. No one's part is as meaty as uh, Cillian
Killian.
Murphy's is, but
Yep.
I still want you to bring your A game to what you have to do to elevate the entire thing." And I think Damon was sitting with Emily Blunt at the time, and she's obviously kind of nodding in agreement. Sorry, basically saying, yeah, when you get that when you get that early focus from a director, it just makes things a lot simpler. You know, like right, they've told me exactly where I stand with this, where I am in the pecking order. Now I can just get behind the leading man and just find how can I elevate his performance. You know, with the scenes that have been given. So I think and it works so well because and people have varying amounts of screen time in this, but do you not think everybody gets a fair crack? Like everybody gets a chance to do something with it, and everybody's got a memorable scene.
The
Do you know?
main players 100%. Like
Yeah.
you've obviously got this cast is absolutely huge. So there is people that come in, then they leave. But you know, you got like Casey Affleck. Casey Affleck's in it for like 5 minutes, then he's gone.
Mm, that's right.
It's just like actor after actor. It is just a bit like Where's Wally of actors, basically.
It's not the best it's arguably like the best. You know, a pick of the bunch of some of the best actors of this generation, really, isn't it?
And you've got to think as well. Every actor in the business is probably wanting to work with Chrissy Nolan. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they all say the same when you watch the press junkets that like, you know, what did you do when Christopher Nolan called? And pretty much all of them say, look, see when Christopher Nolan phones you, you just say yes before he even tells you what the part is, because it's like there's no way being in a Christopher Nolan film can do anything bad for your acting career. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally
Even
not.
if
Like
it is a Casey Affleck, you know, because that could just be enough. You know, people have maybe forgotten about him, and then he appears in something like Oppenheimer, and people are like, oh, remember that guy? And then they go away and start watching, and maybe other, you know, like directors and casting directors go, "Ah, do you know what? Yeah, we can maybe. I forgot about him. We could use him for that role, you know." So I don't think, no matter how big or small your role is, like it's a bad move, is it? Being in a Nolan film.
nah, no, not a chance. You pick up that phone, you go, "Yep, mate, I'll be there. I'll be there in the morning." Do you need to read the script? No, I'll be there. Right, Andy, I'm just going to get into some comments because we've got quite
Yeah,
a
mate,
few.
we're building up. We're building up.
Jim, this is torture. I've got to take a plane to get to a decent cinema, for fuck's sake.
Jim's
It's
on
all
the
right, mate. This...
Jim's on the Isle of Man, but he also lives there with John Rhys Davies of Lord of the Rings and Indiana Jones fame. He sent me a picture of him in like the local restaurant the other day.
Nice. Nice.
Can't
It's
have
all
it
right,
all. Can't have it
Jim.
all.
Yeah, man. Jim, this is just history, mate. So nothing to spoil here. Nothing to spoil here. Paul Times, I've not felt that sort of tense in a movie in so long. It was literally sort of wincing on the edge, the
So was
music
I.
direction.
So was Apple. That's exactly what I would say. I was wincing myself, you know, like in those scenes, like waiting and that audio kick in at times. It was just awesome, just amazing sound design.
Yeah, sound design was awesome. Absolutely awesome. Paul Times again. I loved seeing loads of actors I hadn't seen in a while in the movie who I didn't even know was in. Josh Hartnett, who I had to double take to make sure it was him. Yeah, I'm a fan of Josh Hartnett, man. I'm a fan. 30 Days a Night, Lucky Number 11.
He's a
He's
wee
good,
bit.
man.
I think he's a wee bit. I can't think of a performance though that's like a standout from him. He's a wee tad wooden, maybe.
You know what it is, right? I think it's just because he's such like that sort of atypical blockbuster like action star that
Yeah,
never was that. Do you know what I mean? But like they tried to make him a thing in the early 2000s, and it was actually it was him who turned down all these mad roles. He got offered Superman, he got offered Batman, and it was him that was just like, I don't want to go down that road. But maybe it would have been.
he didn't go down any road though. That was the trouble.
I know, yeah.
They were like, "Oh, "We're not going to take any of the jobs, then you won't
Yeah.
get any work."
Shy Ben's getting out, Josh. Scottish geek guy. Guy next to me thought it was a projector flaw when the background was shaking. Yeah, I can see it, man. I can see it.
Do you know? I'll let you get through. We'll come back to that. We'll let you get through the comments, mate. You know.
Sorry, I need the master of all movies, Presswood DVD collector, Andy and hello, mate.
How you doing, master?
We've got. I'm new here. This podcast. Hi, my name is Sarah Presswood. I'm Down syndrome. I do have disability. I'm DVD collector. I'm obsessed with movies. I started collecting since I was 19 years old. Very nice indeed.
You're in the right place if you're obsessed with movies and you like collecting physical media, Sarah. Welcome aboard.
Movie daft here. We love it. Blunt was class when the guy went to shake her hand. She just blanked him. I was like, yes, Blunt. Sorry, we already had that one. My mistake. There's so many here. I'm blanking on a lot of names. Yeah, the list is extensive with how many actors are actually in this film. Was his brother played by the lad who plays the boyfriend in the newer Halloween movies? He was classed, to be fair, in the lead. Oh, yeah, Jack Quaid.
Oh, Jack Quaid, I couldn't even think of it.
Oh, my God, Jack Quaid, yeah. Fucking hell.
Jack Quaid, the brother,
he's,
what, yeah, from the boys in it.
He's in The Boys. I don't know. I can't remember him in the Halloween. He was in Scream. I know he's in the newest Scream.
He was in the reboot. What's that? Is that Scream 5, the reboot? He was in that.
Basically just a sequel, Scream 5, though. Chris Carl, aka Sniper Reviews. Yeah, I'm not doxing him tonight. Oppenheimer and The Dark Knight are Nolan's best for me, to be fair. I really don't think he's made a bad movie, nothing less than 4 stars.
Yeah.
I'd agree, but when we get to our tier list, I've got a confession to make.
Well, that's what I'm a bit concerned about with the tier list, is like pretty much all Nolan's films arguably could go in the top tier. So it might just be one straight line across the top.
It's going to be quick, mate. It's just going to be one big line of Nolan. That's basically what it was. The other thing I sort of wanted to mention with this film, because I think it's like with Christopher Nolan movies at this point, it's quite important, and it's the score. So obviously, like since Batman Begins, his sort of regular composers been Hans Zimmer, which, you know, he's provided some absolutely awesome scores when it comes to Nolan. But Tenet and this new Oppenheimer was the composer's Ludwig Göransson. I think I'm
Mhm.
pronouncing that right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He's also done The Mandalorian, which whether you like The Mandalorian or not, I think the
It's a
theme
great theme
music,
though, isn't it? Yeah.
it's awesome. It's absolutely great. I love the like sort of like partnership of like Rocky meets Star Wars. I love it. It's great. Then he also did Tenet as well, which I absolutely love. I absolutely loved the score of that, and it really
Yeah.
blows your head off in that film as well.
That's with
But
the themes of the movie as well. It's quite a unique sounding score.
yeah, 100%. I saw him recently say, I think he was asked a question like, Christopher Nolan was asked, what do you think the score plays an important part? Because it's been said before, the best scores are the ones that you don't notice.
Yeah.
And he was getting asked about it, and the interviewer said like Ridley got asked about it as well, but obviously Ridley just turned around and said that's bullshit in a very Ridley Scott way. And I think Nolan pretty much agrees with him, because I feel like his score plays like is like a is another character within the film. And it
Yeah.
absolutely is here. There's right early on in the film, when it's like sort of an early montage of Oppenheimer's early life at school and stuff like that. There's like this montage, and it's like this theme over it. I can't remember what the track's called. I don't know whether it's American Prometheus or not, but yeah, mate, it's absolutely mind blowing. I absolutely loved the score to this film. Yes, and Sniper is just saying here,
Sure you
Ludwig
see that.
also scored Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Yeah,
And that's definitely one of the more memorable MCU scores, I would say. Black
100,
Panther. It doesn't
100%.
that isn't just loaded with original songs like Guardians and stuff. I mean, that's memorable, but it's not a score, is it?
Yeah, and Paul's just saying here, I'm sure Zimmer handpicked Gorison because Zimmer was unavailable for Tenet. Yeah, he was doing Dune, wasn't he, at the time? That was his like
Awesome
lifelong
project.
goal to do. Um,
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, because I think the score to Oppenheimer was awesome, as you've mentioned. Ellis Tenet was so unique and
yeah,
more fresh as well. So I think it's good as much as we come to love certain partnerships. Steven Spielberg, John Williams, Christopher Nolan, Hans Zimmer. It's nice for them to go their separate ways at times and collaborate with different people. Because it can. I think it's like any creative partnership. If you're just if it's just the same thing over and over again, it's going to get stale. You're going to start kind of repeating yourself a little bit. Um, Whereas if you
100%.
bring in someone completely new who's got a completely different idea for it, you're going to bring out the best in both.
I started panicking when I heard Hans Zimmer wasn't going to be doing the next Christopher Nolan film, and it wasn't going to be produced by Warner Brothers and stuff like that. I was like, oh my God, what the hell's going on here? It's like the Great Wall of Nolan is collapsing here. But thank God I was wrong about all that, because he's made another great partnership here. And I think this Ludwig Göransson, he's so young as well. This guy, he's got such a long career, like moving forward. Go on,
Do
Andy.
you know,
You gonna say something?
do you know what I think is funny about Christopher Nolan? Just on him as a person, like I've been going back and watching some movies like Memento. I watched a few nights ago, and I watched all the special features on it. And it was like, these interviews he'd given at these like small indie kind of theaters and stuff. And the man has not changed. Like he's
No,
been wearing the same clothes for the last like 25 years. Like his hairstyle's not changed. The way he holds himself, the way he talks, he has not changed. And he's almost like, uh, when he starts like totally geeking off about IMAX, and recently he's been in a video store and stuff and talking about physical media and that. he's
yeah,
like
man.
he's like the school teacher you wish you had. That's the way he dresses. He's like this esteemed professor of film. That's what he comes across as. You know what I mean? Like almost like he goes and he makes his movies in a test tube, and they just come out. Uh,
100,
do you know what I mean?
man. Yeah,
I
yeah,
just think
100%.
he's becoming a character. Like I didn't even notice that bit before. I was like, yeah, Christopher Nolan, cool. But I think he's becoming like almost like Oppenheimer. Do you know that way? Oppenheimer has that like almost eccentric, like the real Oppenheimer has that kind of outline with a hat, and he's quite eccentric. And he's got a certain dress sense. Like Nolan's a bit like that himself. I think a bit of a kind
He,
of
he likes his linen blazers and stuff, doesn't
yeah,
he? Like, yeah, he's open shirts and stuff. I love it, man. I love it.
little three piece kind of like.
Yeah, but then like proper industrial trainers for when he's like directing and stuff. Like, mate, it's awesome. It's awesome. Like, I always thought, like, you know, Inception. I was like, and Tenet. To be fair, like these guys all dress a bit like Nolan. To be fair, as well. A lot of suits going on. A lot of open suits.
Yeah, I wonder
Like,
how
you
much
know,
I wonder how much input he's got in the wardrobe and stuff, if he influences it a little bit.
guaranteed, 100%, 100%. I think he's truly one of these guys that's like integral to every part of his film, basically. Like even with the score and stuff like that, I could imagine him going to see, like, listen to daily sessions and stuff like that. But
Yeah, I think there's like when they, you see in films when it's lesser director, and it's not fair to say lesser directors, but people who aren't of Nolan's caliber, it's always like the title's always the big thing, whatever the film's called, and then you'll get a little bit that'll be directed by the
yeah,
director. But there's certain directors like Nolan that like it's straight up there. It's like this is a Christopher Nolan film before it even tells you what like the title is, kind of thing.
and I think this one actually ended with directed and written, or maybe he's directed
I
with
think it was
screenplay,
written and directed by or something.
written
But
and
it's
directed.
just that way. I think that it basically alludes to what you kind of confirms what you were saying there, mate. I think there's certain directors that are so all encompassing, like it can truly be called a Christopher Nolan film because they're in it, they're in about it all. Like
Yeah,
they're not just directing, they're involved with everything, the writing, the concept of it, the delivery, probably the wardrobe, probably they're advising the assistant directors and the production designer with their own ideas and stuff. Nothing just gets left, I would imagine, as a case of like, yeah, cool, you can just the sets will be lovely, I trust you, you're just going to do it. I'd imagine he's over there, like making sure, probably loading them with what he kind of wants already. I think
yeah,
that's the difference with these big directors like Nolan and stuff.
100%, mate. But yeah, man. Overall, I absolutely loved this film. I need to watch it again, 100%. I think one viewing of this film isn't enough. I just think there's too much in there. You know, it's a 3-hour heavy dialogue film. Like you've got to be tapped into it, listening to what people are saying.
Doesn't feel like it though.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I loved, and it keeps with Nolan's like non-linear storytelling. Like half the reason I didn't want to do like a full-on like scene by scene breakdown is it's 3 hours long, so I'm having trouble remembering it step by step just after one viewing. And obviously it was Sunday when I viewed it. But because everything happens out of place, non-linear, like there's a lot of black and white scenes, isn't there? And I think that takes place more after the bomb, creation of the bomb. But they're dropped in all over the timeline. Are you there, Andy? You're there, mate. We can hear you.
Folks, we'll be back in a minute.
Just while Andy's sorting that out, I'll 2 seconds, guys. 2 seconds.
I'm back, mate. I think it was my internet. Apologies, folks.
It's fine, but yeah, I was just gonna get your like final thoughts on the film. Did you love it? Are you going to be buying this on 4K as soon as it comes out, mate? I can't wait to see what this film looks like on 4K.
100% buying it. I think Nolan stuff's just an insta buy. Like if you could pre-order before you've seen the film, I'd probably pre-order it. Yeah, definitely pick it up on 4K. I think it looked fantastic. But yeah, just as a film, it just delivered. You kind of know what you're getting. There's not a single Christopher Nolan film I've seen. The only one I haven't seen is The Falling, which funnily enough is coming this weekend because it's been released by 101 Films on Blu-ray and I've pre-ordered it. It comes out in 30+, but I might get it early. We'll see. But I might even do a wee review on it because it's definitely the lesser known one. So I haven't seen The Fallen, but obviously that was his first feature film. It was amateurish and stuff, although it's supposed to be good. But that aside, every film I've seen, fantastic. And this is maybe, from a filmmaker's point of view, if you put genres aside, like Batman and stuff, which isn't fair because we shouldn't put genres aside, but I just mean the character development in Oppenheimer is there. Like you've said before, I think you even said in the stream, that's maybe a bit of a weakness with Nolan. He's so heavy on concept that sometimes the characters are overshadowed by the themes and what he's wanting you to think about when you leave the cinema. What be it, be it the kind of moral dilemmas, or just be it the high concept, like a film like Tenet or Inception. You're working so hard just to understand the greatness of Nolan's like story and concept that you kind of don't have even have time to really focus on the characters. But this one really is a proper character study, with certainly with Oppenheimer himself and his wife and the kind of the main characters in his life the way they're portrayed on film. There's bags of character in this, bags of human struggle. There's still the spectacle, there's still the absolutely iconic, beautiful cinematography, the score, the ensemble cast. So I wouldn't blame anyone for saying it was their favourite. I don't know if it's my favourite yet. It could easily be, but just like for the reason that you said, I've only seen it once, and some of the Nolan films I haven't seen in a long time. So I'm looking forward to going back and revisiting them. And only once I've kind of watched them all again, well, I know where it stands. But yeah, I definitely think it's up there. It's got to be up there in the top three, if not the best Nolan film so far. I would
Yeah,
suggest.
I think you're right there. It's just like I think you know you hit the nail on the head there a little bit. Like with a lot of Nolan's films, that concept sometimes overpowers characters, whereas we're dealing with a biopic here, so it's very much character driven
Yeah,
with Robert J. Oppenheimer. Um, almost concept and stuff comes like as a second thought. He could have made this whole film just about the bomb, and it could have ended with the test of the bomb.
yeah.
Because you're at like a 2 hour mark by that point, but we go into the third hour, which is all about the downfall of Oppenheimer and getting his security clearance took off him, basically, because they all thought he had communist loyalties and stuff like that. But
And that's such a
I think,
nothing event, really, isn't it? Like when you think compared to Nolan's other films, if
yeah,
you just write that on paper, before, having not seen the film or a single bit of what was shot, you'd be like, "What? The whole film's going to end in like and basically like a kind of in-house court hearing over security
yeah.
clearance. Like what an anticlimax, you know? But
I,
but he
I love
still
that.
still turns it into an absolute exercise in how to do a fantastic tension-filled sequence, you know?
I like how he bookended it as well. The film. So there's is it Einstein? Einstein, Oppenheimer. They have a meeting not a meeting, but you see them chatting at the beginning of the film. And Robert Downey Jr. is coming down. His Strauss character's coming to see them. They're on the lake speaking, and you don't know what they've said to each other. Then you get Einstein walking, don't you? He walks past
Yeah,
Strauss, but doesn't say anything. And I just, like I thought it was amazing that like Strauss like thought like, oh, they must have been talking about me. No, mate, they were talking about much bigger things than you, pal. Um, it was just
yeah.
great. Like
Let's kind
I
of sum
and
that guy up altogether. Yeah,
exactly, and you see how petty like sort of Strauss is as a character, but then it sort of bookends and you follow you hear what was said in that conversation at the end. I love that. Um, but yeah, for me, this was just like a proper mover. It was amazing. Like, just gonna get Sniper Reviews comment here before we go into our tier
it's a
list,
good one.
Andy.
I've been reading it on the fly. It's a good comment.
Did you enjoy the two fusion structure color sequences? For
Definitely.
me, are all Oppenheimer's point of view perspective, and the black and white are all Robert Downey Jr.'s Manhattan Project
Yeah,
of the man there, interpretation of up. Yeah, 100%. Like as I was saying that, like I like the different structures with the black and white and the color, and so if he didn't imply the black and white, I think you'd be lost at where you were in the time frame of this whole story. Um, Black and white, they're taking place in a certain time frame. The color stuff was all like late 40s, black and white 50s. I think I might be getting that wrong.
I see it as like, I simplified it as pre-bomb, post-bomb.
Yeah, good shout. But
But what is sorry, mate.
yeah, no, you go for it. Go for it.
No, he's absolutely right. I kind of did pick up on it myself, and I think, as I say, I watched Momentum just Memento a week or so before I watched this, and it's amazing that he's drawn on that and used it again in this film, because that's what happens. He's got two storylines running in different directions, spliced alternatively throughout the movie, and he uses like the black and white, because I watched the features after it, and he says that, and I'm quite sure the reasoning behind why he did it in Memento is similar to why he did it in this. And he says the black and white gives you gives the viewer a visual cue right away that they're on a different timeline, and obviously the color lets you know that you're on a different one. So
That's quite interesting.
It's a technique that he's used before, and he's obviously thought I could use this again in this. But yeah, I thought that was really good, and it does make it just a little bit it's simpler. Because you imagine if it was an entirely black and white movie or an entirely colour movie, how confusing would that be? Like
that's what I'm saying. Like, with how non-linear he goes with the storytelling, like you'd just be totally lost. Like, I felt a little bit like that in Dunkirk, if I'm being honest. Like, that was all over the place. That it's telling 3 stories at once, like, and they're all happening at different times, basically. But
Dunkirk is difficult to follow. It is difficult to understand where everything's happening. But what I liked about the point of view, like the colour sequences being from Oppenheimer's point of view, and it kind of ties into what you were saying earlier. I know you said you didn't like the fact that there wasn't enough horror. You felt you didn't lean into that enough, and you know we should have seen some kind of like aftermath. But I think it was definitely stylistic why they didn't do that, and I think for me it actually works. I wasn't bothered with that because the whole thing's been told through his perspective. Oppenheimer would never have seen the aftermath. He wouldn't have seen the bomb. So you're living it from his experience, where the horror of it is in your imagination and in your head. Because he wouldn't have seen what that looked like. Yeah, he would have seen footage afterwards, but immediately after it happened, he'll just be using his scientific brain and imagination to imagine what the people of Hiroshima suffered as a result of that bomb. And it's beautifully done when he's given the conference. He's having to pretend that, you know, Team America, we've had a great triumph. And then, you know, the background starts shaking and he starts to imagine that people are being torn apart and all the rest of it. I actually thought that was like really clever, that it was all an underlining that the war is in his head, the PTSD of it is in his head. He will be forever haunted with that. And I think you would have lost that if it had actually, you know, just cut to like the streets of Hiroshima and seen them all get blown away. Like there would be a disconnect between.
It would have took away from his performance.
Took away from his performance, and it would have pulled us out of the character for a second.
Yeah.
When it's a biopic about him, so we should stay with him. So I thought it was tastefully done.
Yeah, and it's just me being like a gore hound and like thinking of like an R-rated Nolan movie, and I'm just like, oh yeah, we could see some really like fucked up shit here of like what this bomb did, and we didn't need to do it because we saw it all through Cillian Murphy's face in that conference scene. Like that was it was a really good scene, that, and this is like another reason why I want to watch it. I just want to take all that in again. We've got video tasties here. Gareth's here. Hi, you never said you were live tonight. I only did 42 plugs on your stream last night, Gareth. Okay, only 42.
I only watched 20 minutes of it. I think I seen like 10 at least 10 plugs.
Yeah, man. But yeah, guys, if you haven't, go and check out Video Tasties, awesome channel, and we did a live stream of Judge Dredd last night. 5-star film, better than Oppenheimer. I'm only joking. Don't come at me. Scottish Geek guys just agreeing with Dunkirk. Yeah, the Dunkirk thing of 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week. That's what it was. I think you're right. Anyway, didn't really come across that clearly. No, they should have used some black and white color in that one. Maybe.
I love Dunkirk though. I think it's awesome.
It is good. It is really good. I'm trying to get my missus to watch that one.
That is gets me every time. The train sequence at the end always makes me proud to be British.
Oh
He's
shit!
got,
Yeah, I forget about that. It's a
he's got
really
to say
good
that
scene.
at the end every time.
Yeah, man. Right, I'm gonna try and share my screen for our tier list. I hope this works. I've only done it once before. Ah, okay. Sorry, guys, you've got to bear with me a little bit here. I've only done this once before, and I'm not sure. Oh, hang on.
Let's see people's. I want to see people's rankings in the comments, or at least their top 3. So if anyone's watching, start sticking them down there, because it might help
Yeah,
us with the tier list. It might just help us if we get a wee bit stuck, if we're starting to get a little bit of feedback.
yeah. Well, I've got a confession to make straight away here. I have not seen Following.
Neither have I, as I alluded to earlier.
2 seconds. Sorry, guys. This makes for really bad viewing here, but I will sort this out. 2 seconds.
Probably worth it. Top 3 Christopher Nolan movies, mate. Just responding to one of the comments that's come in there.
Oh, sorry,
I
guys.
think
I'm
I can do
all over the place here. Top 3 what? Sorry, guys. I will.
So I'll do the comments, mate, while you're Chris Kyle, aka Sniper Reviews. Joint first, is that, mate? Joint first, Oppenheimer and The Dark Knight. I think you can't say fairer than that. I don't think that'll be the last we see of that.
I'll know if this the thing is, it's because I've only seen it once. It's like it's a bit of a struggle. Like I'm thinking maybe top 3, but once I get this tier list up.
Scottish Geek guy is weighing in with. Oh,
Number 1, Dark Knight. Number 2, Inception. Number 3, Interstellar. I like that list. I think I'm somewhere
it's a
near.
strong list. It's a strong top 3.
Oh man, I'm having a total meltdown here. I can't find this.
What I'll say about like in relation to that top 3, can't fault it at all. But there's a kind of like, I don't know, fantasy kind of like, well, all 3 of those films are fantasy films, like blockbusters, in a conventional sense, that have action, have a bit of a payoff, have some form of hero in it. Whereas obviously Oppenheimer's is an out and out biopic. It doesn't really portray him as being a hero or a villain. It lets you make your own mind up. So Oppenheimer's probably well, I've not seen The Fallen, but Oppenheimer's quite unique to everything he's done so far in that regard.
It is. Right. Can you see this? Can you see my tier? Sorry, guys.
Yeah,
This is terrible.
yeah,
Can you see this tier ranking?
I
Are we
can see it.
good? Are we okay? Right.
Yeah, we're fine, mate.
Let's go with his first film following that neither of us have seen, but we are going to rectify that as soon as we get our hands on the 101. Is it 101 films, Andy?
Yeah, 101 films on Blu-ray. Have you pre-ordered it as well, mate? Or are you just gonna get it?
I'm just going to get it, mate. There's not a lot I pre-order.
Yeah, it's not
But,
expensive. I think even pre-ordering it brand new, it was like 15 quid. It's just the Blu-ray, but I'm sure you'll get it pretty cheap after a couple of months. I just was in a total Nolan marathon, and it just popped up at the right moment. So I just decided I needed it in my life because I haven't seen it.
I've been waiting because I know you can get it on Criterion, but I think it's like Region A, which wouldn't be a problem for me. I've got a multi-regional player, but it's quite expensive, quite lofty for the
Is it on Blu-ray though? I thought it was only on DVD.
Oh, you might be right, Andy. You might be right.
I might be wrong. Someone can correct me, but I think this is its first time on Blu-ray.
You know why this is going so badly for me, guys? This tier list is because I'm using one monitor. Next time, I'm going to have 2 monitors. I'm going to get this shit sorted out, man. But what are we on to next? Memento. Is that his next film or was it Insomnia?
It was Memento, and then it
Memento.
was Insomnia after
Insomnia.
that.
Yeah. Right. Memento. What are we saying about this? I think this film is pretty great. What are you
Yeah,
saying?
I think Memento is a masterpiece. Personally, I think it's I think it's a 5-star film. I think it's so original for its time. I think the structure that we talked about earlier, the black and white, um, it's so cleverly done. It's not just done for the sake of it as well. It's to mimic the lead character's condition. It's deliberately done to make you feel disorientated watching it, so that you can relate to the confusion that the character goes through, not being able to remember things, and how the memory fades. So I think it's so effective in its delivery. But Guy Pearce is a good actor and delivers a good role. He's convincing. You never kind of he gets that kind of naivety across, I think, in his facial expression. The scenes where he's not supposed to know who you are, he's very convincing at delivering that and making it believable.
Yeah.
He's quite charismatic, but he's believable that he can be that he has a nasty streak in him potentially. That he can be narcissistic, which is what that character was really. And you've got Carrie-Anne Moss and Joe Pantoliano doing the
Yeah.
supporting turns. It's great score. I wouldn't say the score's great, but it complements the film, the structure. It's so original, great twist. Yeah, I can't fault it. I still think it's one of his best films.
Yeah, 100%. It's been a while since I've watched it. I can't lie. But I would go just for when this film came out and what it did, and like you say, the structure of the film is just like so smart, so clever. Guy Pearce, awesome. I wouldn't mind him working with Guy Pearce again. Was Guy Pearce in Oppenheimer anywhere? Surely.
No, and you know what? I'm surprised he's never appeared again, given that taking Fallen out of the equation, Guy Pearce helped put him on the map as his first kind of protagonist,
And he
and
sort
he's
of
never
likes working with people again, doesn't
yeah,
he?
and he's never appeared again. I wonder if there's anything in that, or if it's just purely coincidental.
So what we go? Are we saying amazing? Are we saying amazing?
I'm saying amazing, mate. Are you saying amazing?
I would say great, but I'll
Okay.
go with amazing just because to me, I know Following's his first film, but Memento's when he really sort of just it's when he got a budget, basically. You could see what he was
Yeah.
gonna do, I don't know. I'm somewhere in the middle.
Well, it's not.
Um,
We can always change it, mate. We can always adjust it at the end. So why
right,
don't
we'll
we put
go.
it in the middle? Can you put it in the middle? Can you put it between the two?
No, I thought you could, but you actually
Uh,
can't.
well, let's leave it at great just now.
We'll leave it there for now. We'll move on to his next film, which is, I think this is one of his only films that is not actually an OG story from him. So I think this was based on a book, if I'm not mistaken. Andy, you aware of that one?
I'm not sure, mate. I know that it was a Danish film or Norwegian.
Oh shit! It's a remake, isn't it? It's a
remake.
remake.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a book before that, but it was because the interesting thing is that what's his face, Skarsgård,
Yeah.
Stellan Skarsgård, who ends up, spoiler alert, who ends up being the kind of the villain in the Nolan one, actually played Pacino's character in the original, is my understanding. So
Really?
yeah, I think someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure that was the case.
Oh, I like
He was
it.
definitely in it. He was definitely in both movies.
Yeah, this one for me is I've only seen this twice, I think, and it was quite a while back. I like the fact that it's got, Robin Williams, one of his sort of not last roles, but I don't know, it's a different role for Robin Williams, isn't it? It's not like his stereotypical sort of role that he was doing in the 90s, basically. I'm not sure when did Insomnia come out?
I think it's 2002. I think Memento was 2000. Insomnia 2002. Yeah, round about then anyway. Only a few years after the success of Memento.
So for me, I would put this in okay. I don't think it's one of his bests at all. It's been a while since I've seen it, so it could go in good. But when was the last time you saw this one, Andy?
Oh, it was a while ago for me. I think I watched this on DVD probably a year or two after it came out. So I worked in a video shop around about 2004 for a few
Okay.
years, and I think I watched it when I was there, but it had obviously been out already. So yeah, you're probably talking 20 year ago since I last watched this. And I remember enjoying it. But I suppose when you watched it 20 years ago, you didn't know, it's different now thinking about Insomnia when we know that Nolan went on to be this amazing director and create all these original movies. So you judged it differently. Does that make sense? So when I watched that back in the day, I would probably put it in great, good to great.
Yeah.
But maybe if I watched it now, I wouldn't feel that way. But I'd be comfortable, even having not seen it for 20 years, putting that in good. But if you want to put it in okay, then I think that's understandable, given there's other films that are coming later on. So we have to create a bit of a spectrum, I suppose.
Yeah. I'm sort of going back on my own opinion with it now because you've got Al Pacino, you've got who the hell? There was someone else quite famous in this one as well. It was Hilary Swank in this one, Insomnia,
I
if
think
I'm
she
not
is, aye. I
mistaken.
think she's the other kind of, I'm saying Skarsgård is the villain. He's not, clearly not,
It's Robin
but he is.
Williams,
He is in it though, yeah.
isn't
But
it?
he is in it. I'm sure he's in this.
Yeah, yeah,
Somebody put me in my misery. Tell me that he is in it in the
yeah.
comments.
But I tell you what, because we went for great for Memento, and you said that was amazing, we'll go good for Insomnia. Okay,
Okay,
mate.
yeah, I'm happy with that.
We're getting it. We're getting in the nitty gritty now. We're getting in the nitty gritty. Is it the Prestige or are we going Batman next?
It was
What do
Batman
you?
first, and then it was the Prestige. I mean, do you want to do like? There's a few comments, mate. I don't know if we should maybe throw them up just between each movie, just to
Yeah.
give people that.
Sorry, guys. I'm all over the place here. When I get another monitor, I'll be more rapid with the comments and stuff. Sorry. We've got hello, Stevie Dan. Number 1, Interstellar. Number 2, Oppenheimer, and number 3, Inception. I like it. Strong picks.
Not a Batman fan, clearly. Good picks though.
Sniper again. I just laying a few more down on his list. We've got number 3,
Fresh it out.
Memento. Number 4, Prestige. And number 5, Interstellar.
Yeah, I think I'm glad Memento's in your top 3, mate. I don't know if it's just because I've just watched it again. I feel like I've rediscovered how brilliant it was, but I used to love it back in the day. I watched it a lot when it first came out and thought it was a masterpiece. And I
Andy,
kind
you're
of thought
making me want to watch this immediately when I come off the stream.
that you have to watch it, man. And it's quite an easy watch as well. It just flies by. It's only like an hour and 45 minutes or something. So good,
Well,
man. It ends with this cracking Bowie song that doesn't get enough appreciation,
yeah, I've got it. I've got to
which
check it
is
out,
another
man.
selling point for me.
I've seen it. It's just been a few years, man.
Yeah.
Scottish
Same for
Geek
me.
guy,
But
seeing The Dark Knight in old school 1570mm IMAX at Glasgow Science Centre is a core memory for me. The moment the truck flipped on that massive screen, wow, the end.
Scottish
The end.
Geek,
Yeah, the end of The Dark Knight's amazing. I absolutely love it.
Scottish Geek
Very
guy.
empowering.
I seen that film in the exact same theatre he's talking about because we're obviously from the same area roughly, and I didn't even realise back in the day that I wouldn't even have known. I just knew it was IMAX, but I didn't know it was 1570. So there you go. I thought that Oppenheimer was my first IMAX 70mm experience, but obviously it wasn't.
My only IMAX experience was The Dark Knight Rises. I think that was the last one I saw. I can't remember if Rogue Nation was in IMAX, and I actually saw that in the Printworks as well, Andy, at the time when that was getting released. But yeah, my last big IMAX was Dark Knight Rises, and I did cry at the end of that film. I will admit that.
Do you not think? I didn't realise you'd been in it. I didn't realise you'd been in the Printworks, mate. Do you not think, just to reiterate to people, how big is the screen? Like vertically, it is absolutely massive.
Absolutely humongous.
So
That's why I saw. Yeah, Rogue Nation in there was absolutely balmy. It was absolutely mental. But yeah, I love the Printworks. I love where it is. I love the whole inside of it. It's quite a little quirky little building.
big
But,
corner.
yeah, man, and
But
like
it's like
Go on, mate.
Say
No, go for it.
No, I was just saying like I forgot. I forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry, mate.
You go. No, it's alright. It's my. What are you going to say? It'll come back to me.
I've forgotten now as well. We're moving on. We've still got loads of films to rank, man.
That's what we get for talking over each other. Aye, that's what it was.
Scottish
I've remembered, mate. The
Go
I
for
said
it. Go
that
for it.
it's like the third biggest in the UK. But see, when you look at it, so the biggest is the BFI IMAX. But see, when you look at the specs of them, there's only about like a meter or something in it between the
Right.
Printworks and the BFI height wise. So if you want to get the tallest experience, if you want to see like something in the 1:3 ratio, akin to Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League, or the scenes from Batman v Superman, seeing it in BFI IMAX or Printworks is where you're going to get that like crazy verticality, which most IMAXs don't have. Other IMAXs.
I do want to experience it at some point in my life. That the full-on 70mm aspect to it. We've got Gary Wilson here. Hello, mate. How's it going?
Gary.
Dark Knight, Oppenheimer, Memento. Memento. I'm feeling like I need to reevaluate this film.
Do you think people actually had Memento in their top 3, or do you think I've just like sold it?
You've sold it. You've literally sold it. Everyone's buggered off to go and watch it.
I'm putting that in my top 3. I'm taking it there.
Insomnia was his WB test if he could handle big budget after an indie hit. Remake this Danish film for his remake. I love that. It makes a lot of sense. It's a Nolan sleeper, really good, a blockbuster fave. Def good level, nothing
He's talking about Chris and I used to work in the same Blockbuster. That's what he means. It was in the era that we were there. It's probably one of those ones that you would recommend to someone, and to come across as a smart ass film fan.
Yeah, that's why everyone's got Memento in the top 3. I saw Interstellar in Glasgow Science Theatre. It was amazing. I need to check this theatre out, man. Hearing so much about it.
The Science Centre used to be ran by the Science Centre on its own, and then it got bought over by Cineworld for a while. And then I think when they asked for out the cinema during COVID, they let it go. And then the Cineworld opened up one down the road, the new state-of-the-art one at the Silverburn venue. So they basically gave it back to the Science Centre. But the Science Centre still has, I think it's like the 4th largest screen or something like that in the UK, the Glasgow Science Centre. But the trouble is it's still using the old technology. So I don't know if they still have the 1570 capability, the 1570mm, because I think if they did, they probably would have shown Oppenheimer, and they didn't. Right. I think they've maybe moved on to digital, but I think it's old technology. I think it's like 2K. Still looks awesome. I seen Top Gun Maverick there, and it was still awesome. Still a great experience. But I think it's a little bit behind tech-wise compared to the most recent one we have in Scotland.
Nice, man. I'll have to check it out. Let's get into this tier ranking. Okay, mate, we're at Batman Begins. So I'm gonna say this is great / amazing, but I'm gonna go with great for now. I think I've obviously spoken about Batman Begins before. I've got another tier list on the channel. I'll just plug another video way back that I did with Paul Tams, who's been in the chat tonight. We did a Batman tier list. But Batman Begins is awesome. I was a confused little boy when I watched it in the cinema in 2005. It was just not enough bat nipples for me. I was like, what the hell is this serious, normal Batman film?
See, I was just the right age for it. I was ready for that, but it's interesting. Oh, you're a wee bit younger than me, Ellis, so it's interesting getting a younger fan's perspective who was in a different place, when that film came out.
Andy, you know me, and you know how I feel about the 2 prior Batman films before this. They're my jam,
one more than the other.
So yeah, it was a weird old experience for me. It wasn't till like years later that I really went back and appreciated this film for what it was. I obviously think it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. But just as a Batman fan at the time, it was a weird. It wasn't a bad scenario. It was just my brain wasn't mature enough for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was a very muted, clinical, realistic take on Batman, and I think he knocked it out the park personally. But I will put this as great, not amazing, because I think within this particular Batman franchise, as in the next one, that one is truly the amazing film. But I think people should like take note of this Batman film because it really sort of not only changed Batman, but it changed superhero films forever. I think like people looked at Nolan and thought, right, we can tap into this and do a really serious take on it with it still being a spectacle as well. We were coming out of like the 90s, campy, pulpy, still figuring out what we're doing with these superhero films. And Nolan comes along and goes, this is how you do it. And obviously this is where the birth of our 20-year partnership with Cillian Murphy comes in as well, because he actually screen tested as Batman, which you can see on YouTube. You can see the him testing.
He looks like a wee boy, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, he's a little boy in Val Kilmer's suit. It's weird. You can see why. He knows why, but we might have never have got Oppenheimer. So I think it was a blessing in disguise. But Andy, what's your sort of like quick overall thoughts on Batman Begins?
Just to reiterate what you said, mate, it's a great film. I don't know, it just lacks something. There's just something in it that doesn't make it amazing. But every time I watched it the other night there, my 4K of it, and I really, really enjoyed it again. It's a bit non-linear with the storyline as well. You forget about that, but it's got a kind of non-linear structure. But yeah, just what it did to the franchise. I mean, it was a massive pivot point because, like you said, it kind of like I remember coming out of that in 2000, coming out of the cinema in 2005, and just feeling like validated as a Batman fan, if that makes sense. Like I just felt like I know you came out and you were a little bit lost because there wasn't enough nipples and stuff, and that's what you're used to, and you were a bit younger.
Neon and nipples. Come on.
And I'm a Batman Forever as well. That was a massive moment in my childhood. Batman Forever, don't get me wrong. But yeah, coming out of that, it was like, all right, it was like, he gets it. And I'm now validated as a comic book fan because it's not just silly, it's not just kid stuff. Nolan's got across the adult themes, and they're taking this character seriously and I just felt so excited for what was to come next. But I don't think any of us could have really foreseen like what was coming next. Like,
yeah.
If you know what I mean. No, I think great. I think great is fair for this one, mate. I think there's an argument for it being put in amazing, but I'm comfortable with it going in great if you are.
I'll go with great with that one, definitely.
Yeah.
100%. Next one, we've got The Prestige. Now, Andy, I've got a feeling, I don't know, we haven't really spoke about this film much, but I've got a feeling you really like this film. Or am I mistaken there?
No, I do, mate. I like all Nolan's films, which makes this difficult. But I do like The Prestige, but criminally, I haven't seen it in such a long time. I don't think I've ever owned it either. I don't think I've even had it on DVD or anything back in the day. I seen it in the cinema and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm a big Bowie fan, so it helped that I always think if Bowie lends himself to any artistic project, the stakes are raised immediately, and it's the quality, the overall output is just magnified. Now he doesn't have much to do in it, but I just think like if David Bowie says he'll work with you, this guy's a creative mastermind, right? Probably one of the greatest musicians and artists of our time. Well, he was obviously. And so if he's lending himself to any project, right, that's because he sees talent and the people involved,
Yeah,
so that's
Bowie knows what's up, man. He's only working with talent.
And I think he softened them up by using that Bowie song at the end of Memento. But anyway,
good shout. Yeah,
when people weren't really loving Bowie's music, I was back then. But yeah, I just think it's great. But I haven't seen it. It's been so long since I've seen it, mate, that I don't think I could do it justice. Really talking about it and reviewing it. I just remember it being a really clever story, the period setting, David Bowie, and just really enjoying it. But what's interesting about it is that apparently this was the first time he used IMAX.
Oh,
And
was
that
it
goes under the
really?
radar. Yeah, and I don't remember it either, but apparently for some of the special effects shots, I think they're blink and you miss it, like a few seconds each time. They were using IMAX
Right.
cameras. It was kind of like he was using it as a precursor for The Dark Knight.
See, I thought like The Dark Knight was his first sort of
So did I,
offering
like, up
of that
until
one.
just a few days ago. I
Yeah,
don't know if I don't know if they're used in the film. I don't know if like it's got expanded aspect ratios or anything, but there's definitely IMAX footage in the Prestige.
yeah. Believe it or not, I haven't actually seen this one in a while either. I'm going to do a massive rehaul. I've got to upgrade a lot of my Nolan films to 4K. I just haven't done it yet. I think because I saw them that much when they sort of released, I sort of got tired of them quite quickly back in the day, and so there was a big gap where I didn't see a lot of Nolan films or rewatched them. I mean, but because of Oppenheimer right now, and I'm trying to get Georgia to watch a couple of them with me because she hasn't seen Interstellar, and I really want her to watch that one. But yeah, as for the Prestige, I'm gonna go. Like I see online, like people really love this film. They really love it. I think I don't know whether it's a problem, but it takes a bold swing with some of the technology that's used in the film for it being a period piece, and I think that comes with Bowie's storyline as Tesla, um, who builds this sort of machine for Hugh Jackman's character. It's not intense, the story, but there's a lot to unpack with this film, and I think this is the sort of film where you get a lot out of it on multiple rewatches, and you'll pick up on certain things. There's a lot going on with Christian Bale's character. It's sort of that at the forefront of the film and in your face, but you don't even realize it with Christian Bale's character. But
Yeah.
but it's obviously he's managed to basically clone himself.
And I think that's what's awesome about it. Like Nolan's so clever with stuff like that. There's layers within layers within layers, and like ultimately the whole film is about these magicians, and the whole film is a magic trick in many
Mm.
ways. Like you at the end, I think is the tagline not something like "Are you watching? Are you watching closely?" or something?
Are you watching closely? Yeah,
What
yeah,
it
that
is,
is it.
like, brilliant. Like,
Awesome.
I can't wait to watch it again because it's been that long, and I've actually been. I said to you the other day, I've actually been trying to get it on 4K. I want to watch it on
I think
4K.
just FYI, I think it's on sale in HMB at the moment, but you might be able to get a bit cheaper
Aye,
there.
it's on Amazon for 12 quid, but they never have the slips anymore. And it's got such a nice slip from memory. It's got a kind of glossy, reflective slip, and I'd like to get it, but
Go to HMV, just pay the extra £3 for the slip.
but the one in my HMV doesn't have one.
Ah,
So I might have to just
bullshit.
like float around the Glasgow ones and stuff and just see if I can find one that's been on the shelf.
The staff in
Oh,
HMV absolutely hate me at the moment because I've got even more addictive to the slipcover. Like, if I go, like when 65 came out, and I can't remember what else came out. Oh my God,
165.
Spider-Man, the latest Spider-Man film, No Way Home. Sorry, not latest, but you get the drift. No
Yeah,
slipcover. No slipcover. I think it's a Sony thing. Like they're just like
yeah.
adamant on not doing it. Like who's 65 produced by? Andy again. Who's the studio behind that one? Because that didn't
I think
come
it
with a
was
slipcover either.
Ron. I think it was an independent studio, but it was released through Sony Columbia TriStar.
Right.
So it was. It's a Sony physical media release. But yeah, you're right. It's all the Sony ones, so like Uncharted, Morbius, Spider-Man: No Way Home. Just trying to think of like big Sony releases. None of them have slip covers. It's obviously the whole eco thing, is it? Like they're obviously
Oh,
trying to save the planet and all
it,
that. I don't
it's
know how much
killing me.
like, not giving us a slip cover is going to save the planet, but
You know, I've even been buying like third-party slipcovers because I couldn't have not had a slipcover on that Spider-Man 4K when I've got all slipcovers. It was testing me, man. And
I know what you mean.
I,
I've,
I failed.
sometimes the steelbook is like the cop out for the slip. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that can be the full swing for me. Like see if it's got to the stage where it's a title that's been out for ages, so they've reprinted it so many times, and they don't do the slips anymore. That'll make me sometimes go, do you know what? If it's something like The Prestige, for example, that's a Nolan film. I've got some other nice Nolan editions. I don't know if I'm happy with just having a shitty Amory case for The Prestige. Do you know what I mean? So I might have to track down like a steel or a second-hand Blu-ray
Get
steel then or something like that.
Yeah, do like a Frankenstein. Put the 4K
Yeah.
disc in it, mate.
I'm all for that. Some people think that is the work of the devil, right? But I don't
Nah.
mind that. I think that's quite unique. Like, I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, no, I'm about that. I was about the video that I saw that you did the other day about just explaining whether you should really be buying some of the newer films on
I really
4K.
don't like that, man.
But Andy, I need to jump into some more comments, mate, because
Yeah,
they're coming
yeah.
in hot. They're coming in fast. Sorry, guys. We've got Stevie Dan. I saw Oppenheimer in Cineworld Silverburn. I'm sure it's digital laser.
I think it
Nice.
is, mate. Yeah, I think it's the latest 4K. I think it might be the first one in the UK. I might be wrong. It's definitely the first one in Scotland anyway. 4K laser. It's the kind of top spec modern IMAX. Anyway,
Nice. Nice. We've got Sniper with Batman Begins. Definitely great. Prestige too. Yeah, man.
yeah.
100%.
Just quickly on that last. We've been talking about IMAX so much tonight, but it is Nolan. It's appropriate.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
ElectricGeek guy who might still be watching the stream, but he was in earlier on. He's done a cracking video on. He went to see Oppenheimer on the twice on the same day, but he went to the Silverburn IMAX 4K laser presentation, and then he jumped basically in his car and drove straight to the Glasgow Film Theatre, which was doing a old school 70mm showing of it, not IMAX, but just a 70mm film projection of it. And then he did a video on the differences and what he thought and what he kind of recommends, and he kind of dives into some of the technical specs as well. Really good video, and it's getting good views as a result. So if you're
Is that
watching,
a Scottish Geek guy?
but Sheet guy, yeah, he's done a good video on it, so it's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, head over there. Everyone watching, man. He's got some great content over there. I'm loving his reviews. We've got Paul Tams here. Batman Begins made it cool to be a Batman fan again. Whoa, Paul, what? Again? I felt, and if not for that movie,
Like you can't like back in the day you couldn't admit to liking Batman and Robin. Do you know what I mean?
fair. Batman Forever, though, misunderstood, I think. And that Schumacher cut is going to get released on the 30th anniversary, I'm praying. That movie, I might not have delved into the graphic novels, etc. Oh, what? So that was your okay. So that was your like gateway into the graphic novels, Paul.
I would kind of echo Paul's comment there. I was the same. Like I was just I suppose I was younger as well, but I was happy just consuming the Batman movies we had, and we playing the games and stuff. But once I got a bit older and Nolan came along and gave us this, it was it's a gateway because it was for a lot of people. Nolan's take on Batman was the first time they'd seen an adult spin on it, and they're like, "Oh, I quite like an adult, more realistic Batman. Where can I get more of that?" Well, where's the first place you're going to look? The source material, aren't you? And then it's a bit of a portal
Yeah.
into the graphic novels. So I would agree with Paul. That kind of happened to me as well, and that was certainly the reason I wanted to read and I now own Year One, which is based on.
Yeah, I think well, it wasn't exactly the case for me. I don't know, like I sort of mate, I grew up with Batman, reading a lot of graphic novels that I stole from the bloody library, mate. Like they've still got the library thing in the front of the book. It's not good. It's not good. I'll get arrested for that one day. But yeah, like I said earlier on, like it was a bit of whiplash for me because I was so inherently used to the prior films and the bombastic, campy nature of them and the outlandish villains and whatnot and stuff like that. And that was also like depicted in a lot of the comics as well. You know, you got like the Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller. That was the one that really turned stuff around for Batman comics wise, made him a really serious character. Gave him the darkness. We've got Sniper again. FYI, following is worth a watch. However, keep in mind that due to its limited budget and independent nature, it may lack the spectacle and production values of Nolan's later works. Well said. But yeah, man, just from what I've gathered, you can tell it's sort of like this guerrilla sort of very, we're just going to go out in the streets and film, man.
I think some of it was filmed without people's consent.
Yeah, I did hear that. It's quite interesting. He replies back with, nonetheless, it remains a fascinating piece of cinema that offers insight into the early creative mind of one of modern cinema's most celebrated directors. Yeah, man.
That could be on the back of the box.
Yeah, man. Chris is coming in hot with the comments.
The Chris Kyle show.
Definitely ranked somewhere between good and okay for me. It's definitely bottom placed movie in Nolan's catalogue. Which one are we talking about?
I'm assuming he's still talking about the following.
Love the Prestige, guys, based on a novel, I think. Is it really? Oh,
didn't know that.
No, I didn't either. We've got Stevie Dan. I've got Inception 4K this week. No slip cover. Ooh.
I've got it. Not to rub it in, but
mate, I swear down. So I went it. Say that again.
It does have a slipcover. You've just got to it depends how dedicated you are, but from my experience, if you get a cheap deal on Amazon, right? If it drops down to 10, 12 quid, you never get the slipcover. And I don't know if that's because Amazon do a bulk deal with the distributor and say, we're going to do, let's just say the Prestige at 12 quid for 2 months. So going to give us we'll shift loads of these. We'll take 5,000 off you, but we want them at a discounted rate. And they're like, okay, cool, we can do that, but you're not getting slips, as a result, to keep the cost down for us. I think that's what happens. So if you're off Amazon, beware if you like your slips, because often you don't get one.
I hope it's not a trend that continues. Just a really quick story on the slips, right? this is how mental I am, right?
You need to do a slip stream.
Maybe we do. I went into HMV. I bought 2 films. I bought one called High Life with Robert Pattinson and another one called The Florida Project. Both with no slips, right? So I buy them from HMV. I go home. I'm feeling a bit spicy. HMV's over the road from where I live, so it's no trip. So I'm feeling a bit spicy. I've just been paid. I'm going back. I'm gonna buy some more Blu-rays. Why not? Same day. Go back, and I'm looking, and they've replaced The Florida Project and High Life, but these both have slip covers. The ones I just bought didn't have slip covers. I went back. I kept the receipt. I went back. I went and saw Claire. Sorry, Claire, I've just doxed you again. She's the manager at HMV. I went and saw Claire. I went, Claire, is there any chance I can swap these for the 2 of the slip covers? And she just didn't say anything. She just took my receipt and looked at me disgustingly. But I got them, baby.
I've got a bit of a rapport with one of the guys in my local as well. He's absolutely brand new. And he sorts me out sometimes early with releases and that. They're all nice in there, but he's the guy that I kind of my contact. But yeah, I said that to him once. It was they always do the buy anything and get this for $5.99 or whatever it was.
I love them deals, but yeah.
They were pretty decent with me because I come in all the time, and they were I think it was the manager actually once said to me, she's like, look, you're in all the time. You don't need to buy anything. If you want the thing for $9.99, just buy it. We'll just give you it. So they're good that way. So I came in, so they were already letting me be cheeky. And it was Goodfellas, right? So this is the predicament. So one of them was that little skinny case that they do. Don't know why, but so for some reason, Goodfellas in the UK, you can get a skinny case one and you can get a normal size case one, and then you get the slip. So the one with the slip was the actual case itself was all smashed and bashed, but the slip was in good nick.
Right.
And then the thin one was fine, but didn't have a slip. I had absolutely no shame at the counter saying, "Can I take the slip off this one?" And these things are right at the counter, right? They're not out on the shelf. They're like
Yeah.
right under the guy's nose, and he's like, and I'm like, this total anorak going, can I take the slip off this, mate, and put it? And he's just looking at me.
Mate, this is what we do, man. We collect physical media. We want them slips.
But like, aye, sure. He didn't embarrass me. He just was like, yeah, sure, yeah. When you go for your boots, so I ended up getting the best of both. But yeah, I've got no shame either when it comes to slips, mate.
He knew the struggle, man. He knew the struggle. Paul's just saying here,
Honestly.
I just bought the Green Mile on 4K, and not only did it not have a slip, it was in a thin case. I was like, the fuck's going on here? Super Mario movie was in a thin case as well. Yeah, mate, these thin cases as well, man. Like, every time I go to do, like, so my DC stacks on my Instagram were looking dead good. They were all the same size. I've got all slip covers for them. Love it. Then Shazam and Black Adam come out, and they've got these, like, shitty little thin cases. I hate it. But at least they've still got the slip covers, at least.
I think we should be setting up a no slip cover helpline, mate, off the back of this.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
It's a real problem.
Sniper's just saying, Ellis, is there truth to the rumours I'm reading about the Schumacher Forever cut is seriously touted for a release? I have heard that, and it got screened. Sorry, we're going way off topic here. I know, folks, but I need to answer this question.
We'll come back.
It's a speciality of mine. So it was screened over 2 weeks ago now, the Schumacher cut, a really rough version of it. It was Kevin Smith that got hold of the cut of the movie, and for whatever reason, Warner Brothers let him screen this cut, and there was a number of people that went to view it, and there's a podcast I listen to, Epic Movie Guys, I think I'm getting that right. They done a full breakdown of the Schumacher cut. So Sniper, if you're interested in knowing more about the Schumacher cut, I highly suggest seeking out that podcast, because it does sound really intriguing, and I hope to God they release it for their 30th anniversary. Scotch Geek guys just saying, appreciate the shout out, guys. Andy, I'll buy it for you. I'll buy it for you if you don't buy it.
That's a good video, mate. You're welcome.
Got Stevie Dan, subscribe to your channel, Scotch Geek Guy.
Look at that. We're making things happen. We're bringing people together, mate.
Yeah, I love this. I was going to ask Scottish Geek Guy if he fancied coming on tonight, but I couldn't be sandwiched between two Scottish blokes. I just get totally outpowered by his both. But I'm on his own. You can come on anytime, Scottish Geek Guy.
I think him and I are going to do a stream as well. We've not nailed it. We're just trying to work out what it'll be, but you'll see a double Scotch stream soon.
Oh man, I'll be all about it. All about it. And he just says, yeah, Batman Forever has a special place in my heart. That was my Batman as a kid. Was like 10 or 11 when it came out. First Batman I saw in the cinema. I never saw it in the cinema. It was just them 4 VHS of the 90s Batman films were just my life. Right, I need to stop talking about Batman. This is not the time. Cheers, mate. Oh, sorry, comments coming in. Steelbooks for life.
It's a good way out of it.
Yeah, I need a bigger bank account though if I'm going down that route.
Oh, that's the trouble. Right. I suppose we should probably talk about Christopher Nolan now.
Right. Yeah. Come on. Let's get back on track. Right. We're going to speed through these. The Prestige, what we're saying. Are we going to say great for that one? It's definitely not good. It's either great or amazing. I'm going to go great because it's been a while.
I think the fact that I haven't watched it for nearly 20 years.
Maybe saying something.
Yeah.
100%. The Dark Knight, have we got to spend any time on it? I'll just fucking do it.
Thanks, Scottish Geek Guy. Catch you later, Jimmy.
Whoa. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we can cut some time down with that one, mate. I think we're all in agreeance.
Yeah.
I think it put IMAX on the map, that film, didn't it, really? Like, in a movie-going sense.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
It was after that movie that people started to kind of, like, talk about IMAX.
Just the first scene in the bank, and when you're looking at that building and that the window smashes out, that whole first prologue into the film's absolutely awesome.
I mean, I remember watching. Do you remember like I got Batman Begins on Blu-ray,
Yeah.
and that was how I first seen the prologue. So like high bit rate, 1080p, full opening sequence to the Dark Knight IMAX ratios, and I was like, mind was blown by it. Do you know what I mean? That was when I knew like we're in for something special here. I always remember watching that.
Yeah. Dark Knight, amazing. Ultimate film. And we've got Inception now, which I'm going to cut a bit of time. Well, actually, Andy, I'll ask your opinions, quick thoughts on Inception. I don't think we've ever really spoke about Inception before.
Yeah, mate. I would say for a long time, probably still is, that Inception is like one of my favourite Nolan films. I think it's absolutely ingenious, the concept. It's got an amazing cast. You know, it's a total ensemble as well. Of all the main players at the time, if you know what I mean. Maybe like Oppenheimer's a bit of a combination of everyone he's worked with, old and
Yeah.
new. But like Inception was all the kind of big players at the time. Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hardy just before he kind of hit the stratosphere.
Yeah.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who I think is a really talented actor, just kind of fell away, but he's a
Such a
talented
shame.
actor.
Yeah.
I don't want to be politically incorrect here, but what's the person formerly known as Ellen Page's name now?
Elliot.
Ellis,
Is it
is it
Elliot?
Elliot? Ellis.
Elliot Page.
Elliot Page. Yeah, and Michael Caine. It's just awesome. It's got an amazing Hans Zimmer score. Amazing. It's the closest. Well, it used to be the closest we've got to a Bond film from Nolan until Tenet came out.
Yeah, 100%, man.
I'm sure he said in interviews that ending sequence, you know, the kind of like the snowy base at the assault at the end was basically his like homage to Bond.
Yeah, man.
That sequence. So no, it's awesome, and like the In Time from Hans Zimmer, it gets overplayed to death everywhere, and it's a shame because it takes the shine off it a bit. But it's a fantastic piece of music, and you know the end. I think the end to Inception is maybe the best ending to any Nolan film. I'll say that.
Possibly, yeah. I do. I love the ending of The Dark Knight, and Gary Oldman's given that speech. The way that ends is
Yeah,
amazing.
that is pretty awesome, actually. Yeah, but maybe taking the Dark Knight out of it after that.
I will say Inception's is magnum opus. I think
Right?
100%. I think I remember seeing this film in the cinema with my dad. I remember being absolutely out of my mind wanting to watch this film because obviously when The Dark Knight released, after that film, it was every cinema fan's or every film fan's favorite film. And you know, like The Dark Knight, we didn't mention it there because we obviously breezed over it, but that birthed many film fans. I think that birthed like, you know how you watch Jurassic Park when you're younger and you watch these films that like just have such an impact that are like propel you into this movie space and learning about directors. I think The Dark Knight did that for a lot of people. Not myself directly, but being a Batman fan, and you know, Batman Begins was a bit sort of like, you know, like I said, whiplash for me. Then we get into The Dark Knight, which was a little bit more colorful. You know, you got like the Joker, a bit more color in there. We're getting these like inherent villains and stuff like that. So after The Dark Knight, I was on like cloud nine. Anything Nolan was going to release, I was going to be there day one. And when the trailers and stuff started coming out for Inception, I just thought this film looks absolutely amazing. Like, I know Nolan's come out and said that he had this film like with him for quite a while. He knew he was going to make this film, but originally it was a horror film. It was like more horror elements, and I think you can sort of see that in a way with this film. Um, I truly think this is his best film. I think the characters in this film are somewhat cold, but I think because it's dealing with dreams and going dream after dream and delving into this, I don't know, this lucid dream situation, the characters suit sort of being this cold. It's something like Tenet that I don't think that works. I think you needed stronger characters in Tenet, but we'll get there in a sec. Andy, I'm going amazing for Inception.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm happy to put that in amazing. It's
and
one.
all
One I've watched a lot as well. It's one I've revisited it, not recently, but I watched it a lot when it came out. And like you say, I think it was the first movie post like the Dark Knight that he did that wasn't obviously a follow up. Like it wasn't the Dark Knight Rises. So I think there was a lot riding on it. A lot of eyes were on it because like there was this whole new generation
Yeah,
of film fans off the back of the Dark Knight, and this was
yeah.
the first thing he was serving them up after that.
And what a second course to serve up as well. Like
Yeah,
after the Dark Knight, it just I don't know, amazing film. And Cillian Murphy as well. I sometimes just forget
yeah,
that
that's right.
he's
Yeah, he's the mark,
that
isn't he?
legend. Yeah, yeah. But you are right. I like this more of as like a Bond situation, especially with that ending, and like Cobb, like Leo's character and stuff like that.
The soundtrack,
Um,
the soundtrack is awesome. I think it might be my favorite Hans Zimmer
this
Nolan
this
collaboration. There's like Mombasa. I absolutely love Mombasa. I go running to Mombasa. I
yeah,
love
yeah.
how upbeat and pacey it is. It's great.
And you sort of hit the nail on the head there. Like we've been so accustomed to hearing time, like the track from the album, like
Yeah,
so much now.
yeah.
But
Three
like,
on Love Island, I mean, that's the ultimate blasphemy.
yeah, yeah. Like it just
No points.
like as cold as it is, like some of the characters, they can be quite cold, like clinical and stuff like that. When you see Leo on the way back, like Cobb, his character, and time starts kicking in, and like the Johnny Marr guitar bit starts coming in, you're just like, oh shit, tears are running, man, tears are running.
Yeah,
But yeah, absolute banger, Inception, amazing. And then do we have The Dark Knight Rises? Now I know there's going to be some folks out there that would probably put this in bad. That ain't going to be me. I think this film gets way more shit than it deserves. I think some of the arguments that are made about Dark Knight Rises don't hold up for me. Like, oh, how did he get back into Gotham, man? Guys, it's Batman. It's Bruce Wayne. This guy's getting back into Gotham. Like, don't worry about it. It's cool.
I think that's
Um,
on not even a point that like it's not relevant to this. It doesn't even matter to the story. Do you know what I mean?
so
Like
it's
the whole thing takes it's got a bit of a relaxed time frame. The Dark Knight Rises anyway. Would you agree? Like the
100%.
fact,
It takes like what we're saying, like over the course of a year, maybe is that films
yeah,
like that spans. Um, the reason I like Dark Knight Rises is because it reminds me of the older 90s films. Because it's so bombastic and sort of ridiculous in a way that he's took over the whole of Gotham City, but he does do it. I love this. I love Dark Knight Rises. It's one of, if not, well, no, it is. It's the best cinema experience I've ever had. Truly, it was. It's where I went to IMAX. Me and Georgia went to Newcastle to see it in the screen in there, and like I was really, really took over by that film. And the ending, I was an absolute mess. Nothing really bad happens. It's just like sort of a feel good mess. Like we came the end of it of one of the
happy
best
feels.
trilogies of all time, and it just
It's so difficult. It's so difficult to actually to every Nolan film ends satisfyingly. It's because it is. It's great. Like it's the ambiguity to the ending as well that I like, which I don't even know. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not. But the whole like because there's loads of theories online, isn't there, that like that Alfred at the end doesn't actually see them in real life. It's just that he's kind of like he's wishing that he sees them, or it's almost like
he's
this. It's almost like
fabricated it.
a post moment. It's the spirits he's seeing. It's like
Yeah.
they're now free from the burdens of being Batman and Catwoman, and they're living in harmony together and somewhere else, kind of thing. Or is it literally that? Well, I think it obviously is because there wouldn't be the whole bit about the autopilot. The line about the
Yeah,
autopilot is in there to pretty much confirm that he escaped. Uh,
and they also make a big deal about saying in the film that like Batman can be anyone. It's very much a symbol. It was never about Bruce Wayne. It was like more Batman the symbol, because they have that conversation in the police car, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character and Christian Bale, and he's explaining it when he I love the fact that Joseph Gordon-Levitt just knows that he's Batman. I know, like, a couple of people didn't like that. Oh, what, you could tell by his eyes. But I love that. I love the sort of like emotional connection that gives. Because let's face it, right? Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, is it John Blake? That was the closest we were ever going to get to a Robin. And if anyone knows me, they know, like, I'm sick of the, like, disregard that Robin has had over the Batman franchise. And I hope James Gunn is going to change that. Even though he's going with Damian Wayne, why not just go with Dick Grayson? But another day for that conversation. Dark Knight Rises. I'm going to put this in great. Where would you go?
I was about to say the same. I don't know what I think how often you watch things, tells a lot about a movie on a personal level. So, like, I've watched Batman Begins and The Dark Knight a hell of a lot more than I have watched The Dark Knight Rises. Like, I just choose to revisit those two and not necessarily the third one. But I like it, and I don't see all those kind of daft negatives that people bring up about it. I really think they're nitpicking there, and I suppose it was always going to happen.
Yeah.
Simply because there's just, where do you go after The Dark Knight? You can't really improve upon that. So it was always going to fall a little bit shy of it and leave itself open to people nitpicking at it, But there's so much good in that film. Like, Tom Hardy as Bane and all that. He's been parodied to death, which again is a shame because it takes away a wee bit from it. But still a very charismatic and memorable performance of, like, Bane. And yeah, it's still an absolute solid Batman flick, and it's a satisfying ending to the trilogy. So I would say great.
Yeah, I'm going with great. I just want to mention the score quickly as well. The score's great. Hans Zimmer, like, I love how it's a little bit different in each film.
The showdown in IMAX between Bane and Batman,
awesome,
played a million times in my system. To be fair, maybe not the movie, but as a bit of a demo because it just looks amazing. But not just visually, it's a great sequence. The tragedy of it, almost like you do feel. There's a lot of foreshadowing before it, with Alfred talking about you're not the man you used to be. Look at the way he moves.
Yeah.
So you know that he's going into
war.
Quite hard to watch. It's difficult to watch, but yeah, it's awesome.
Michael Caine, like, honestly, right at the end as well, when he's given the speech that, like, you think he's like died and stuff like that, and he's given that speech, and they're all at the funeral, aren't they? Like Gary Oldman, Michael Caine, I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt's there, and Michael Caine makes me cry every fucking time, man, every time. Andy, can we just get into some comments quickly, just because they're coming in quick? We've got to do. Sorry, guys, I'm just. Steelbooks have ruined my bank balance. Yeah, man, same.
That should be the title for your next video, mate. That'll get loads of clicks.
Who is Pete Bostlewaite? Do I know that person?
He is he's one of the board members in the Dark Knight movies. Pete Bostlewaite, I'm sure. He's one of the old guys He's the one that gives it. The apple has fallen very far from the tree.
Yes. Also, I've just reminded myself there as well. There's an actor from The Dark Knight Rises that gets, like, killed by Bane, like, later on in the film. Like, he doesn't decide to help Commissioner Gordon, but then he does at the end, and he's got his, like, police outfit on. He's in Oppenheimer as well. I can't remember what this guy's saying, but I remember, like, I leant over at George and I was like, that guy's in Dark Knight Rises as well. She's like, I don't care. I was like, okay. I have the soundtrack of Inception and vinyl. Yeah, it's a great album.
Collected vinyl as have it though.
Scotch Geek guy says, "Now my Dark Knight ending is the best. Then Inception."
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not going to argue with it. It's a personal thing, obviously, but I was kind of thinking Inception out. I know you shouldn't, because you shouldn't look at the Dark Knight films separately. I think it's 2023. We should stop categorizing superhero films and just allow them to live amongst other genres. But I just can't help it though. Sometimes I think of Nolan's original stories, I think Inception has a powerful ending. But saying that, Dunkirk actually makes me upset. So maybe, I don't know. They're all great.
We have got Space Paul's. How's it going, man? He's saying top 3: Dark Knight, Inception, Interstellar. Solid picks. Can't moan at them. Another core IMAX memory is the shot of Batman's face at the end of Dark Knight Rises. Yes. When he's flying out to sea and there's a prolonged shot of Batman face, giant on IMAX, proper goosebumps. That is the exact point, Scottish Geek guy. I burst into tears, crying. I'm not joking. I thought they were going to kill him. They were obviously never going to kill Batman. He's obviously, it's Batman. He's got it covered, but I believed it. I was sucked into the story. We've got Sniper. The Dark Knight Rises is so good. Last 5 minutes are genius. Yeah, they are. The callback with Alfred and Bruce in the cafe. Yep. Wayne Manor becoming a children's home. Yes. Robin taking on the mantle. Chef's kiss.
That last shot, the way that last shot goes with the way the water kind of closes out the shot is beautiful.
So good, so good. Because it just gives you like hope. It sets your imagination running wild with where obviously like John Blake's gonna go, like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character becomes Nightwing. And can I just say as well, my middle name's Robin. Like no fucking joke. It's spelled the exact same well. So when like she gives him the card and she's like, "Oh, I prefer your actual name, Robin." I was like, no, this film's too much.
That was good. That was good, that bit.
Yeah. Sniper's just saying the Bane Batman fight, the Bane monologue would have been so interesting to see where Joker would have factored in if Heath was still alive. I've heard some rumors that Heath was... So they did have some sort of like outliner planned for part 3 of the trilogy if obviously Heath hadn't passed. And I think it was going to be like this semi-courtroom drama with Joker because he's obviously captured at the end of Dark Knight. And it just sounded all sorts of interesting at the time. But
I mean, it was obviously tragic why we didn't see that, but it kind of works in a haunting way that that's the last we see the Joker is him just maniacally laughing upside down, and that's it, because he's almost like he's not a character, the Joker, in the way he's portrayed in The Dark Knight. He's more of like almost like an idea, and he's an idea of chaos. He's chaos. He's the embodiment of chaos. So it's kind of like, it makes him. It's almost like he got into Gotham and he just infected it. It's like not really a person. He's a disease, and this is just me taking that. I don't know if this is like what he actually meant, but I think also what reinforces that for me is all the many times he recounts the story about how he got his scars.
Yeah.
And he keeps changing it all the time. It's like he doesn't really have an identity. It doesn't matter. Because he can be anyone. Anyone can inject chaos and cause upset kind of thing.
Yeah, and anyone can be the Batman. So it was like that mirrored image in Dark Knight Rises as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andy. I know I'm taking my time with this one here, mate. 2 seconds.
I've not got long to go. People are watching, mate. People are watching and hopefully enjoying it. We appreciate everyone that watches and comments. It makes it a lot more fun for us.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Everyone who's commented, thanks so much for it. I know I seem a bit spaced out here because I'm trying to like navigate my 2 screens on the one screen, so it's a little bit difficult. I've only got a tiny little MacBook. So next film on the agenda is Interstellar. I love this film. The only thing I don't love about it is the ending, and I've grown to like it more. But I think Matthew McConaughey, this was like in sort of peak Matthew McConaughey. I think he's fantastic in this film. When he arrives at that planet and they've lost all them years and he finally gets back on the ship to see like where Murph's come along, and now she's went from being a little girl, his daughter, to like a grown woman. And Matthew McConaughey just like owns that. Like, I know it's been memed to death from going forward. He's like crying in that scene and stuff, but it is phenomenally acted. I think this is one of Hans Zimmer's best scores to date, without a doubt. I love the scale of this film. I think Nolan shoots space realistically, but like there's a lot of depth there as well to his space. I think when this when the ship's connecting the dock and it's like spinning, that whole scene with the music and stuff, it's just firing on all cylinders for me, that one. Andy, what are your thoughts on Interstellar?
Yeah, it's another banger. My favourite genre, if you like, of movies is probably sci-fi. So
Yeah.
you would, but I would say that. So you would think that a Christopher Nolan sci-fi movie would probably be my favourite movie of all time, but it's not. Again, it's not one I watch all that much, but I did really enjoy it. I own it on 4K. It's a beautiful looking disc. It's probably the most um, kind of emotionally painful ones to watch. Having kids myself now, having two girls myself,
Yeah.
when I watch that sequence, you know the one I'm talking about, when he
Yeah.
fully
Totally.
realised he basically missed his daughter's entire life.
Yeah.
That is absolutely heartbreaking, and even more
Yeah.
so when you've actually got kids yourself, especially girls, and I can just put myself right in that chair, and I can imagine like how I would feel if I was getting that delivered into my eyeballs. How upsetting that would be, and he does it so convincingly well. Like it's like how would you describe his face? It's like it's sheer pain and happiness at the
Pain.
same, because he's
Yeah.
so proud of like what his daughters became, but he's it's over, but it's like overshadowed by the sheer pain of having missed it all. It's just brilliantly done, like amazingly
It,
acted.
it comes in like two stages within that scene. Like I 100% agree. Like you can see the pain, but then when he's starting to come around a bit, he's starting to feel more proud and stuff like that. It's a
Yeah,
beautiful, like heart wrenching scene. Like love it.
my kids are still young, but it's almost like I would imagine the experience of having kids
Yeah.
from the day they're born, till the day you leave the earth in 60 seconds. Like, does that make sense? It's like you've got that
Yeah.
emotional poster of like a lifetime condensed into 60 seconds for this character. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
it's a great film. And I like you say, like when it comes to the worlds, what I liked about it, like, is that we're that used to like other movies where they go to a place and it's quite like Earth. It's just an exotic version of Earth anytime you
yeah.
visit a planet. But there's a kind of like scientifically based realism to the planets that Nolan takes us to. They're unusual. It's not what you expect. We land on that planet that's just shallow water, like,
Yeah.
and it subverts your expectation of what movie planets are like. So I guess it's just another masterstroke in production design and from Nolan. But I think it's great. But I agree with you. I think it's just the ending works. The kind of 2001 ending works. I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a little bit. I don't know what it
It,
is about it. It's just a little
it,
bit bitty, a little bit
it gets a bit
unbelievable.
yeah, it gets a bit wild with it. Like this, I'm desperate to watch it with Georgia just to get sort of like, like a fresh perspective on it because she's never seen it, so she doesn't realize what's going to sort of happen at the end. I think I remember first watching it in the cinema, and I remember being like really like bewildered with how I was feeling at that point because I'd loved it up until then. And when he finally passes through the black hole and stuff, and he's just in that weird dimension, it's like when I remember watching it thinking, I'm going to have to rewatch this film so many times to get it, and I still don't get it. But if I was going to rank it, for me, I know there isn't like an in between. I would put this in between amazing and great. But I think what would you say, Andy? Great.
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards great. I mean, I wouldn't argue anyone that puts it in amazing, but I'm just being honest with how often I watch it. And
Oh,
like,
be honest.
obviously, about parts of it there that I think are absolutely amazing. But as a full, like, how often do I want to sit down and watch all 2.5 hours of it?
Yeah,
That's just to give people some context. That's kind of what I'm basing my amazing shouts on. Like, not so much from a total like critical point of view, but more just, well, a little bit from that space, but more from, if I want to watch a film over and over again, then to me it's amazing.
yeah,
So I don't think I'd watch Interstellar like as often as the ones I've put in the amazing category so far.
Yeah, Andy, me and you often talk about sometimes like our letterbox scores and stuff like that, and it like sort of gets on top of you a little bit, like, and I don't know why, because like I'm not a critic, like is this, but I can't help but like sometimes review things on like a critical basis with my star ratings and stuff. Like I need to get out of that habit, like like I need to get back on Letterboxd. I need to be getting 5 stars for Batman Forever, 5 stars for Judge Dredd, like all the shit films that I love, but I rewatch every year. Like I need to be reevaluating where I'm at. But yeah, for me, this is when I do like sort of my ranking on Letterboxd, which I haven't done yet because I want to get like following in there first. Like I want to see his whole catalog before I do a ranking like that. This would rank pretty high for me, Interstellar. I've grown. I didn't love it at beginning, but I've grown to like it more and more as the years have gone along, and I have rewatched it quite a few times. But interestingly, like another film I don't have on 4K, like it's not very good, is it? I need to reevaluate my life choices. Like,
If there's films that you want in 4K, it's the Nolan catalogue, especially Interstellar. It's got a lot of IMAX stuff in it. It does look amazing. The docking scene and stuff.
Like I
Soundtrack,
said, just because, yeah, when they came out, I watched them loads, so there was like this big gap, and I've just never felt the need to. But I haven't rewatched them all for a long time, to be fair, because I've seen them so many times. But yeah, we'll go Interstellar. We'll go great for that one. I feel comfortable with that. I feel comfortable. Okay, this one's a bit of a. Or is it Dunkirk next? Yeah, Dunkirk. Dunkirk is. I'm not as hot on Dunkirk, maybe as probably as you are, Andy. I appreciate it, but for me, it was a bit. It was definitely a choice to have a lead that's like an unknown, basically. Because to me, like Tom Hardy isn't your lead in Dunkirk. It's more, I can't even remember the actor's name, but it's the lad's name. It's the main guy in Dunkirk that you're following basically on the beach and stuff where he meets up with Harry Styles. I think it's impressive that for the whole, like 95% of the film, Tom Hardy's completely covered up. I thought that was pretty impressive that he still managed to get all these emotions from his eyes and stuff. All the Spitfire scenes in Dunkirk are awesome. Unreal. Yeah. I love them. And I love how the Hans Zimmer score in like it uses the Spitfire noise. Like it's always increasing. Like it's always the tension's always wrapping up in Dunkirk. But I would put Dunkirk as good/great. Andy, what are your thoughts on Dunkirk?
See, I wouldn't let it get anyone near good.
I'm just trying to like balance them out of it.
Yeah, that's it, mate. But I would again be. I mean, it's Nolan films. They're so difficult to categorize because they're all so good. Their own right, they're all banging films, compared to any other average movie, they're all masterpieces. But Dunkirk for me. So a little bit of background, like I'm ex-military. My family, I've got a lot of family that are ex-military, so I've got a lot of pride, right, when it comes to the British Army, right. So I've got that kind of connection going in. I wasn't there in World War II, obviously, but I've been part of the British Army's history. Yeah. In my own small way, and it's all through my family and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, this is very much a film for me, because it's celebrating the British spirit, the posterity of the British spirit, and the values of the British Army and whatnot, and what makes them still amazing to this day as an elite, fighting force, and one of the best militaries in the world. So going in, I'm already halfway there, but the delivery of it is fantastic. As we talked about earlier, and thinking about it now, the time structure is clever, but it's not executed as well as he has in other films when it comes to the non-linear storytelling. Because I found it confusing as well, and even watching it a few times, there's still bits I don't quite understand where we are and where where the Spitfire is in relation to the boats and all that at that point. But it makes it interesting to rewatch it again. But yeah, like you say, the tension of the score,
Mhm.
you really feel like you're on that beach yourself. The tension feels like an ever-present threat from above,
Yeah.
which is what these guys were experiencing. The cinematography, the Spitfires, the fact that I quite like the fact that there's no out-and-out hero to this because people in the military are faceless. They're not like there's no one hero. They all do their bit. It's the
That's it.
big it's the big green machine. It's like so. I think it's quite. I don't know if it was deliberate, but I think it's clever that there's no out and out protagonist here. The British Army and the British people are the protagonists. Against the axis of evil, kind of thing. But yeah, it pulls on the patriotic heartstrings big time, and like that shot at the end of the Spitfire with no fuel. I mean, that's a lot of shite.
Oh,
I don't know how that Spitfire managed to like dogfight that bomber at the end on no fuel, but but like
yeah.
I wasn't in the RAF, but anyway, it doesn't matter because it's still so good. But when it flies over the beach at the end, and they're all cheering,
Yeah.
and then that shot of the spit, him denying the aircraft, setting on fire, knowing he's going to get captured.
Yeah.
Great, and the bit at the end on the train just makes me cry, mate. Every time, it's the fact that they're so ashamed, and Harry Styles has got his head down. He thinks they're all going to be throwing rotten fruit at them and stuff, and yet they're like the opposite. They're celebrating them as heroes and everything. It's just like so. Just makes me proud to be from the UK. That movie. So maybe that's why I want to put it in amazing. But I think if I'm being subjective, yeah, maybe like high end great. So we need to work out what we're doing.
See, I'll meet you in the middle, and if we're gonna put one war drama by Nolan in amazing, I think it has to be his most recent.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think it's. I'll meet you in the middle. So we'll go Dunkirk. We're gonna go great. Gonna go great. But don't worry, we're gonna be back in amazing pretty soon. But first off, first off, right, mate. This is such a weird one, Tenet, man, because I really like Tenet, but it's often a conversation that I have with Georgia that she, she loves it a lot more than me, but I do really like it. My thing is just like the lack of characterization with John David Washington. Like it sort of like pisses me off a little bit at the end when the credits come up and he's just the protagonist. I think he was trying to be really smart with that, but it ended up just coming off a little bit lazy when all you've got is exposition throughout the film trying to explain the mechanics of the film. Like I have to have a little bit of character within my Nolan films, and sort of there wasn't many here. I gravitated towards Robert Pattinson's character just because he had a bit more charisma than anyone else, I think, within the film. But to
Yeah.
me, this was another Bond attempt by Nolan that didn't really pay off. But the score's great, the action's great. I don't care. Like it's weird how it works with like them like literally reversing back like it's a tape sort of thing, but it does make for really interesting visuals. Like sonically and visually, film's amazing, but it just loses me a little bit with the story. And I think Kenneth Branagh's villain is a little bit on the nose, but so were a lot of Bond villains as well. So I could sort of see why he was doing that. Like Tenet is like this weird thing where I loved it. Not one of my favorite Nolan films whatsoever. But the frustration came in a little bit after it where I was thinking, oh my God, is Nolan not actually going to do a Bond film now because he's sort of attempted it with Tenet? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm adamant
Yeah.
Nolan will do a Bond film eventually. Like, just a
I was worried.
straight up
I
Bond
was
film.
worried about that as well. I thought I remember when it first got announced that it was going to be like Nolan does Bond. That was as a big Bond fan, that was my concern was,
Yeah.
oh, no, that's it. Like the ship's sailed. He's decided just to do his own one, and he's not gonna. He's the type of guy who's not gonna go back and retread, over old footprints. But
Yeah.
like, I actually so before you started talking about this film, I was thinking of putting this in amazing. Right, that might shock you.
Whoa,
So
I like it.
okay, because I think it's a total masterpiece. Like the
Oh, mate, I
production
love
of it,
it.
the production of it, the the way it's filmed, how complicated the timeline is. But once you get it, and I'm not trying to sound particularly like I'm up one arse here that I get it and other people don't. I've just watched it a few times, and the more you watch this film, and the more you get your head around it, the more you then appreciate how complex like the storytelling is, and that Nolan could actually concoct that and successfully put it onto film. That it all makes sense at the end once you've watched it a few times. So I think it's amazing in that from that perspective. Great soundtrack, like you say, really unique, interesting action pieces due to the whole what's that called again? What's the actual term for it? Reversing anthrop- anthropy?
Uh, fuck. No, I think you're somewhere near there. You're
No, I mean
somewhere near.
anyway, yeah, like the whole reversal of time in a way we've not seen it before. So before Tenet, we all like let's call it the Back to the Future movement
Yeah.
of time travel. Very linear, easy to understand. You simply take a person from this part of the timeline and you just put them back there. This is like approaching it from reading
In,
into it and watching the special features from a more scientifically realistic way that inversion. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Thanks, my man. The way they kind of invert the timeline, and that you can't just go back in time. You have to quite literally travel through time, which takes the same length of time to go back as it had to get in the first place. Really interesting. And then the whole temporal pincer movement, which does take a bit of time to get your head around, but once you get your head around that, it's so clever. And then it also turns out that basically the entire movie has been a temporal pincer.
it clearly did. No. I love it. Like, I love the take that you've got here. Like, it's such a weird one. Like, Andy, like, I battled with this film of like where it ranks, and I'm like, no, it's not his worst film. But then it's like, I love all the action in it and stuff like that, and the music. But
Look of
to
it and
me,
stuff. Yeah, because it's
yeah, 100%. Yeah, and my thing is just like, if he'd only just gave me, I just needed a tiny bit more on John David Washington. I just needed a little bit more on his character. Because you really just get thrown in like halfway through. You literally get thrown in halfway through a mission, like right at the start of the film, don't you?
yeah.
And to be fair, it must have done something to me, because at the ending, when he has the conversation with Robert Pattinson's character, and he's like, "Oh, will I ever see you again?" And he's like, "Oh, what does he say at the end of it?" And it does sort of make me like not tear up, but I was like, "Oh, that's emotionally just got me there." And he's like, "Oh, we'll see each other again," or whatever. I don't know. It's
He basically says,
weird.
"Yeah, I'm coming to the end of like." He's like, "You've got a whole lifetime to live, to live
Yeah,
this friendship. I'm coming to the end of it, but
yeah,
we'll see each other again in a different way," kind of thing. Because he's obviously he's going back the way basically through the whole
yeah,
movie, and
yeah.
he's just beginning. But yeah, it's. I will agree with you on what you said though, and that's why I'm now doubting myself about putting in the amazing character is that in the amazing category is because it definitely is hollow because so
Yeah.
much energy has been put into making the concept work that there's just no space for any character development, really, is there? So there is that, but he set out to be a high concept spy thriller slash Bond film. So I'll forgive him that because he delivers an amazing concept and an entertaining movie, which I think is better and better on every watch. But it's definitely not. It's not without its flaws, and I understand why some people found it a little bit disappointing and a bit underwhelming.
Yeah, I can
And
see
for
it as
me,
well.
if it was just my scale, I'd maybe put it in amazing, but I'd be happy to put it in great. But we can negotiate good, mate, if that's where you're going with it.
Oh, no. I'm like I said, the only thing that grates me about it is not knowing more. Like, even if you just gave John David Washington a name, like the protagonist, I don't know whether that, like, it just doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't fly with me. I was a bit pissed off. I was actively pissed off with that when I saw it. It's a bit like, like Daniel Craig's character in Layer Cake, and it just comes like at the end of it, it's just XXXX. Like, you never know what his name is. But I'm gonna take the executive decision here, Andy. I'm putting it in great.
I'm
Not
happy with that,
amazing.
mate.
Not amazing.
I'm happy with that.
Right. Final film here. I'm gonna just straight off the bat say this is amazing. I think this is like everything that Nolan has tried and failed and succeeded with in the past movies is all come together to make this movie. Now, while it doesn't have any like major action set pieces in the film, I think it's just a really solid, grounded take on a biopic that is some solid character work, amazing score again. And I think this might be the closest film that we might ever get to a horror where Christopher Nolan's concerned. Although I would really like him like dive into some insane genres that he hasn't tried so far. And I think when watching stuff like Inception and the intensity of like Oppenheimer, like there's a horror film in there with him somewhere. But if we're just talking about Oppenheimer, I think this is filled with great performances. It's a 3-hour epic, in my opinion. I think when I'm finished with this stream, I'll be updating my letterbox score to 5 out of 5. Because if this isn't a 5 out of 5 film, if this ain't a 5 out of 5 film, then what the fuck is? Because, mate, what are you saying? What are you saying? Where you putting this one?
I've already given it. I gave it a 5 out of 5. But as we said, I watched it in IMAX 70mm. It had been hotly anticipated. I drove all the way down there, so it was an absolute event for me.
Yeah.
You know, that definitely helped. And I'm not saying it's not a 5 out of 5 on its own without all that, but it just makes me somewhat biased, I think, because I was seeing it in this beautiful format. Unlike the way it was, I seen it the way it was intended to be seen. That's how Nolan wanted it to be watched. Preferably, if you're going to the cinema, that's how he wants you to see it. That's how he recommends that you watch it. And you know, he knew what he was talking about because it was amazing. It was one of the most immersive, if not the most immersive cinema experiences I've ever had. Just there was just no escaping it on that format, you know. But yeah, so that obviously helped with the immersion for me massively. But even without that, it's just such a compelling film. And you're right, it's just a biopic. You know, someone else could have done this and told the story just as well, you know, got all the key facts across, but only Nolan could have done it as a kind of like, as this massive summer blockbuster, like tension-filled horror, as you put it, psychological horror almost.
Yeah.
You know, that I actually think coming out, and I've said this, I think I said this to my brother-in-law after it, that this should be like essential viewing on a humanitarian level. Like it should just be, as a human being, you just need to watch this film.
It's an important film. It's a
film.
film.
It's an important film. It's an important film from a filmmaking point of view, as much as the content itself is. You know, the content of the film is important. It's an important history lesson. And I didn't know much about Oppenheimer going in. You know, other than he was the father of the bomb. But it was really interesting getting a deep dive into the character, so well played by Cillian Murphy, and you know, so well executed as a cinematic, you know, piece of art, shall we say, that just grabs you and doesn't let go, and you do not feel that a 3-hour runtime. So
no, you do not.
a 3-hour biopic, period biopic, you know, that holds your attention like that. It's got to be a 5. It's got to be 5 out of 5. It's got to be amazing for me.
Right, I'm gonna shove this in the middle. It's amazing. Sniper was just saying that I've never been tense, enthralled, nervous watching a biopic. Neither have I.
Yeah, just basically just nailed what I've said there just in a statement.
Yeah.
There's a few good comments there. Stevie Dan's got a cracking one from Dunkirk you should put up, mate.
Yeah. We're going to get through these comments now, then we're going to end the stream, guys, because we've been going 2.5 hours, but I've had a really good time. I hope you have, Andy.
Yeah, likewise. I've enjoyed it, mate. It's always a pleasure.
Stevie Dan saying, great show. Do James Bond next. Oh,
yeah. James Bond. I'm in talks with a few creators about a potential James Bond stream, so it could be a big one. Bond's close to my heart, Stevie, so it's not something I'll do flippantly, you know. It needs to be.
You're the Bond expert in my eyes, Andy. I got you for all things Bond.
I've not really showcased that. If I was going to Mastermind, Bond would be my special subject. Like,
yeah, I think
I'm not the biggest fan of all time, but it's the thing that I'm most knowledgeable about, and it definitely kind of shaped a lot of my. It was massive for me growing up, as far as getting into movies and stuff. So there'll definitely be some Bond content. I'd love to do like a Bond ranking or something. There's just so much
that'd
of
be
it.
good.
I don't know how you do it. That's the thing.
Mate, a tier list for the Bond films would be pretty good. You could do it in like eras, like Bond eras. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So like
that's a good idea, mate. Yeah.
the Brosnan era, Craig era, Moore era, Connery. But
Then you can see
yeah,
the best of each and do like a shootout. What we work out is like the best actors Bond and then do a shootout.
100%. And when Nolan brings out his Bond film with Aaron Taylor Johnson as James Bond, we'll do a review on it. Because
Definitely.
you know that's gonna happen. He works with actors again, doesn't he? So Aaron Taylor Johnson was in Tenet, wasn't he?
So it was, yeah. That's right.
There might be some connection there. He's on the bookies as well, isn't he, Aaron Taylor Johnson?
Scottish geek guy. It. Yeah, that's exactly what I was meaning, mate, with regards like totally different experiences if you've got kids.
Sorry guys, I can't comment on that. I've got 5 puppies.
Don't apologise, sorry.
It's don't
It doesn't make your opinion any less relevant, mate.
Stevie Dan, Tidal Wave Planet was class. Tidal Wave. Oh yeah, of course, in Interstellar. Yeah. Amazing visual. Amazing.
Totally eerie and unique, and just like I say, just totally subverted your expectation of what a planet would be, you know, compared to what we're used to.
Also saying the Nolan box set was £55 in Amazon. Nice.
Get them cheap. I've got a lot, so like I can't really get the Nolan box set because I've got too many of them. But something like yourself, mate, might be worth getting.
Yeah, 100%. Like, because I've got like Nolan steelbooks, but they're just Blu-rays. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like.
Oh, okay. So you could get the box set then if you just wanted to have them like
get
in 4K.
The box set, yeah. But then there's a couple of slip covers in a HMB that I'm after. So
we need to do a slip. We need to do a slip stream.
Yeah, 100%.
One of my favourite slips. I'll just dedicate a whole thing to talking about our illness when it comes to having slip covers.
Mate, it's serious. It's serious talk, man. Don't dismiss it. Watching Dunkirk was like having a panic attack for over 100 minutes.
That's exactly what it's like.
I do like the runtime of Dunkirk. That is one thing. It's quite snappy, isn't it? You're in and out.
Yeah, I think it might be shortest movie to date. I think it's only I think it might be under an hour 50.
I need to know what the runtime of Dunkirk is immediately. Stephen Ann, good stuff. That would be cool. And Andy, I think that is the end of our comments, and that might be the end of our stream review for Oppenheimer. We've actually still got people watching. Thanks for everyone who's watched, commented.
Yeah, really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for coming over.
I've had a really good time. Hope you have too, Andy.
It's always, mate. It's always a pleasure to speak with you about movies and whatnot.
Start wrapping it up now. Andy, where can the good people find you?
Well, some people might be watching already through my channel, but so if you're watching through that, then just hit the subscribe button. Simple as that. But yeah, you can find me on. You'll find me in Ellis's description, I'm sure. But yeah, I cover mainly 4K Blu-ray reviews, unboxings. Basically, I like to kind of talk about physical media and what's happening in the world of physical media. But I love gaming as well, and I have done one gaming stream, but I kind of want to do more of that. So it's called ElectricGeek for a reason and not 4K guy, because there's more to this guy than just 4Ks. But that's what you'll mainly find on the channel, me spouting about 4K Blu-rays, my love of movies, and all the rest of it. But so if you love all that stuff, you love movies and high quality, collecting physical media and physical media in general, then head over to my channel and you'll find me at ElectricGeek. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, all the cool kids platforms that I'm trying to post more on.
Yeah, man.
Take a look at it.
I see you starting to get into TikTok a little bit. I'm a boomer when it comes to that stuff, man. Like I can only do Instagram and YouTube, sort of, and like that's it for me. That's it. My mind would explode if not. But let me just get a sniper's comment here, because Pete Bosworth was Inception, lads. He was Cillian Murphy's dying father. If you remember,
that's right. Yeah,
he is a really good actor. He's been in Alien 3 and other things as well. He's a good guy.
I'm sure he's on Oh no, I'm not thinking. I'm wrong. I'm thinking of a totally different actor.
He's a
The,
great
the
actor.
guy,
He's more
I
of
know,
like
I
a
know who he's
character
talking about
actor.
now, but when I mentioned Pete Postlethwaite earlier on, I had a different actor in my head when I was talking about the guy, someone that was on the board in the Batman films. But I know exactly. I know who you mean now. Yeah.
Yeah. We've got Jim. My God, Jim stayed to the end, and he hasn't even seen Oppenheimer. Love it, Jim.
He's just popped
Love
in at
it.
the end to say to you.
Right, guys, that is it. Stevie Nan, he was great in
Sharp. I remember
Sharpie.
watching Sharp as a young boy. My dad was right into
Ah,
it. Yeah, bastard.
nice. What's next on this channel is I'm thinking about doing. There's a new film from A24 coming out, a horror film called Talk to Me, and I've had a couple of people who've seen it already and said it's absolutely amazing. So I might get on that. Don't know who I'll invite on that, but just for future plans of the channel, it's going to be more spoiler reviews, and I'll maybe have a different guest every time or have a collection of guests. But I'm going to try and do this a little bit more. I hope you'll come back to
Good stuff.
say hi.
Yeah,
But
definitely. You should definitely do more of it.
yeah, man, we're getting people in right late. Sean, hey guys, we're just finishing now. But cheers for coming along. Sniper, Night Lads, great stream as always. Cheers, Sniper.
Never too late. It's never too late to jump on, even at the end.
No, go check Sniper's Instagram out as well. He does some great
He's just got,
written reviews, and he just joined Letterboxd, is he not?
yeah, he has, and his reviews are. I'm not just saying that because he's my mate, but his reviews are always well put together and always usually in line with, my thoughts on stuff as well. But he's very good at articulating his reviews.
Yeah, I feel like shit every time I read one of his reviews because they're so.
Anything I've got on Instagram's just full of fucking spelling mistakes.
Mate, it's so bad, mate. Sometimes I look at my little reviews and go, what the hell's going on there, man? I need to get a thesaurus. It's about time. But right, guys, I'll end it there. Thanks, everyone, for commenting, coming along, cheering us on. It's been great. I've enjoyed it. Peace out, guys. Till
Likewise,
next
it's
time.
been a blast. Cheers, guys. We'll see you next time. Cheers, Ellis.
No worries,
Thanks
man.
for
Catch you
Cheers,
later.
man.
Bye-bye.
Catch you.